Ahoy, landlubbers! It's me, your Captain Vasco speaking, and welcome back. We did all the Thanksgiving. Well, I did, and you probably did. If you celebrate, I know some of you aren't local, and maybe some additional people on YouTube aren't local and just like haven't had one recently because you're not watching in real time, and that also makes sense and is perfectly valid. Um, yeah, nothing particularly new to report. Sometimes when time passes, I get productive and add something. But like, boy, I sure watched like 30 hours of Christmas movies and like didn't do anything responsible, and then had a bad week because my milk went bad and I was too stubborn to replace it. And I already told that story in full, and it's not interesting and it's not recorded, so like you don't get to know how dumb that story is. One thing I will say that I didn't say a minute ago, before I started recording, is that uh, over Black Friday, for maybe the first time ever, I got um, like an actual good and useful deal on technology for Black Friday. I replaced my pretty old monitor, which I only like really recently clocked like was not capable of displaying in 16:9, and I only learned like it was something that was like kind of close to 16:9, like the normal like widescreen aspect ratio. But when I recently like tried to hook my computer up to function with like a double monitor thing, to accommodate certain games that like insist on playing full screen, which I hate. um no, I'm not moving the camera. That will be like, if you want me to kill myself on stream, we could do that. But like, do you have any idea how delicately balanced everything is in order to function? That's not happening. We're not doing that. Like, that's like the worst idea I've heard in a while. I know that you were joking, but like for real, that sounds terrible. Um, buh, 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 but yeah, so I got like a new monitor that like actually it's literally from this year. It's like relatively new, and it's really nice. It makes me really happy to look at it. It has really small like end bezel thing, and it's very sleek, and it's much nicer than I need, but I got a really good deal on it. And it definitely addresses some of the problems that I have created for myself. It also has like a headphone port, which is interesting because it's not something I anticipated being possible. That also inexplicably does address some occasional problems that my computer has. There's certain things, I don't have dedicated speakers hooked up to it, and there's like certain software, particularly the Elgato capture software, that if you try to start it and you don't have like an audio output, it throws a fit and like crashes, and it's bad, and it's weird and specific and dumb. But so like now that that exists, that should never really be a problem again. I could do something sensible, but like I live in this shoebox in Los Angeles, and like this is most of my living room, and like that's like half of my apartment. Um, we would miss the plushies if the camera moves. Also, like the bigger problem is that I'd never be able to get the camera back in the position that it's supposed to be, and it took me an incredibly long time to get the camera where it's supposed to be now. So like none of that's happening. There's some hypothetical world where I could set up an additional camera to do that, but like that is certainly not prepared, and like definitely will break something. I'm still not convinced that the stream is actually working, and I'm literally conversing with people in chat. Um, but yeah, I've been talking for like a really long time for no reason. We're starting kind of late because I told the milk story, and no one wanted the milk story, but we're here now. What we're here to do is to play Murder by Numbers, which you may or may not recall because it's been a few months. I put it on hiatus like early September, I think, is when we stopped playing it. We finished the second of four cases, I think, if I remember correctly. Uh and we did all like the bonus cases that we had unlocked by doing all the puzzles or whatever, and then we started playing the nonary games and doing Halloween stuff, and like that's really kind of it was winding down through November, because some of it we kind of started late and whatever. um Angel, thank you for the 43-month resub. Hello, hi, hello to you. Echo says your delicate camera balancing is probably at least a little better than my sellotape camera setup. Maybe a little, just because like the camera is balanced in such a way that it's ability to stay on top of the television, which is where it is right now, is pretty stable. It has like a mount thing. Like, I'm not concerned about that. I'm more concerned about like getting it like horizontally in the correct space. Wasn't it put on hold to play Nirvana Initiative? Was it? Is that right? That might be right. You might be right about that. If that is the case, it's been longer than I thought it was. Because we did go like full Nirvana Initiative for like 3 months or something. God, what a decision that was. Anyway, we're back. We're going to play it. hang on. Let's go over to this screen that's going to look broken because there's nothing on it. I wanted, when you boot up Murder by Numbers, you get this introductory cutscene, and I wanted to capture that for the sake of, like, just remembering what we're doing. So, like, let's hope that nothing breaks starting a game during the stream. That always goes well for Vasco. Actually, this one. I mean, it's freaking out less than it was earlier in the week. That's good for me. Hooray! Menu. So, I don't know if I ever got around to the point of that last pointless story I was telling. I got a shiny new monitor for Black Friday. I love it. It was a very good purchase, and I got a great deal on it. I'm very pleased with that because historically, I'm like over lifetime on like doing that over Black Friday weekend. And I plugged in my headphones to it because it seems more stable. I was like literally having issues earlier this year where like, in order to connect my headphones to the computer under the previous setup, I had like a USB extension port thing set up, and then I had like a USB to headphones adapter, and then I plugged the headphones into that adapter, plugged into an extender, plugged into the computer, and if I touched it, sometimes it would cause a whole game to stop generating audio. This is more stable than that for sure. I don't think it's causing any capture problems because I was testing that before the stream. It seems kind of quiet on my end. I don't know if that's... Just tell me if anything's broken. Like, I know you will. The partially hidden pirate Squirtle. I mean, he's there. Would you call him hidden? I don't know. Anyway, let's play Murder by Numbers. I think we're on case select, yeah? Yeah, we have not started this case. There's 4 of them. We did 2. We got S rank, which really only means that I was very deliberate in getting all the cases, because then you get the bonus stuff and you get these really short cutscenes of additional content. But more than that, you get really hard puzzles that are sometimes frustrating to play. Now, the best part about this is... Well, let's start up the game and talk about the best part. This will overwrite your autosave. I mean, like, I know where I left off, and it's here, so shut up. I mean, I forgot how, like, overtly Phoenix Wright this was. After the Sunshine Awards, things changed. I've been through plenty of change already that summer, but this was different. This was big. But I guess change is hardest to recognize when it's happening to you. I really thought that was going to fly off the screen. That's like a thing that I remember this game does sometimes, is that sometimes it gets carried away. And, like, it'll be like a character will interrupt something the other one is saying, and, like, before a human being could possibly read the first sentence that's getting cut off, the second character's already finished their sentence. So I thought it was going to do that. So I panicked a little bit. It's fine. Ooh, where do I live? Hey, where does the camera live on this? I don't remember. I don't remember where the camera's supposed to be. No, wait, I think I do. I have to fix it. We'll see when we get to a puzzle, I guess. It felt like an eternity ago that I left Ryan and struck out on my own. If you told me back then that I'd end up living with a robot, well, let's just say that was never the plan. That's some real understatement. This is some good recap here, though. Our character's name is Honor, if I remember correctly, which I may not. she was an actress on the somewhat popular television show Murder Mystery, which, believe it or not, was a murder mystery. And the first case surrounded an incident where the executive producer of that show was murdered, and before he was he'd been blackmailed into firing us, so we weren't attached to that show anymore. And then he died, and then probably the show, I don't know, it's not actually clear what the fate of that show is long term. Maybe by the end of this game we'll be doing it, but clearly we have a different trajectory now, because after we got fired, we met up with Scout, who is a flying VCR pal, made of junkyard parts, who does not have memory of his own origins or his purpose, really. But he has discovered that he has the innate ability to scan an object, turn it into a nonogram puzzle, and we'll reiterate what that is when we get to one. And then I will demonstrate that I don't remember how to do a nonogram puzzle. But basically, he helps us look for clues by scanning them and turning them into a particular type of puzzle, and it's kind of a comical conceit. But now he is our best friend and companion, and he apparently lives in our apartment with us, which I think we did establish at the very end of the last case. But also we had been divorced from this guy Ryan, who absolutely sucks and whose voice I don't remember. That's gonna be a problem. No, wait, wasn't he Bad Gilbert Gottfried? Is that correct? I think that might be right. I didn't know why that stranger thought Scout was dangerous, but the more time I spent with him, the less I believed it. So we just carried on like everything was normal. We watched films, visited museums, and Scout devoured the public library. He was a monster and a problem. Yeah, at the end of the last case, Scout's creator, which we know from the special flashback cutscenes I unlocked by doing the bonus content stuff, literally broke into our apartment and was like, "Hey, you better watch out. Scout and his mysterious past are trouble." And I think she jumped out a window or something. I think it's at least implied she did a Batman, and we looked away for 5 seconds and she was already gone. For a while it felt like progress, but deep down I was running away, running from Scout's past and from my future. But I couldn't run forever. .exe. Oh. This is by far the most comprehensive view we've had of our own character's apartment.
Oh, good morning, Honor.
Morning, Scout. Get up to much last night?
I read the final 3 volumes of the Encyclopedia Totalis. I think my favorite was Zirconia. They're so pretty.
Now we just need to think of a way to get those encyclopedias back to the library before we realize they took them. I mean, I know we did lose our job, but if you wanted encyclopedias, I feel like stealing them was not the best plan?
Also, I read that Julia Child's book you never opened.
Hey, I was gonna get around to it. At some point.
Anyway, I spent the night trying to perfect the French omelet. Here, I made one for you.
Oh, I hope it's terrible. Oh, I could get used to this. Oh, hey, Casey! How did your date with the perfume guy go last night? I think you mentioned that during the last case, so I guess this is supposed to be the next day? Raw egg omelet. I mean, Scout read a cooking book, a cookbook for cooks, so I assume that he is using a different technique than my secret recipe that I almost jokingly called a family recipe, but that would be really insulting to my mom who's in chat. It was the 3rd date with Perfume Guy, right? Did you... Wait, is that why you're calling me at this ungodly hour? Because you're doing the walk of shame? You hussy. Tell me everything. Nani? Oh my god. Okay, calm down. Calm down. Where did you say you are? I like Scout's, sassy pose. Got it. We'll be there as soon as we can.
What's up, Otter?
It's KC.
Is he okay?
He's fine, but it looks like he's just found himself at a murder scene. Oh. Huh. Huh. You know, that's about right. That's pretty much how I'd put that. Whoa, that is not what I was expecting.
Honor, are my sensors malfunctioning again, or is that a giant shoe?
Nah, pal, I'm just happy to see you. No, your sensors are working fine. Not just a giant shoe either. It's a giant killer shoe. It also, like, appears to be a parade float. There's kind of a lot to process here. Okay, now, if you recall, which you won't because apparently we haven't played this in... I should have looked this up. It's been months. Maybe many months? Maybe many months. But you may recall that previously, KC was my attempt to do an Australian accent, which you probably do remember. Historically, I'm very, very bad at, and is actually just a Cockney accent like 60% of the time. Darling, you're here. What a mess this all is.
What the heel happened here? Did you process my joke?
Scout, babe, if you're gonna start making quips, we need to have a talk about timing. Now, that's kind of like Liverpool. I just really can't do Australian. I need some sort of crash course in an Australian accent. And the worst part of this is that for like at least 3 years, my direct boss was an Australian man who I spoke to not quite every day, but like mostly every day, and like just really didn't get there on that.
I'm sorry.
You two, of course you're here. Oh, and he's gone. Come on, Scout, let's get scanning. Okay. It feels like maybe there should be some talking before we start scanning for but hey, you know what? No time like the present. Still don't understand why this mechanic is in the game. Normally you'll get to like a crime scene and then you go into scanning mode and you just have to like find a thing to click on. And it seems to accomplish like nothing. Alright, now we're probably going to spend the entire rest of the stream trying to remember how to do these puzzles, because now we're like halfway through the game and the game does not expect that I've taken many months off, and probably thinks that I know how to do a nonogram puzzle. Now, generally speaking, a nonogram puzzle is simply like, we use these numerical clues on the side and the top here to figure out, like, the correct size of groups of spaces to fill in. Basically, we're looking for a group of 2 filled in spaces together and another group of 4 spaces filled in together in this column that you see is like highlighted. And then we, you know, try and execute that across the whole big darn picture. And at the end of it, what we typically get is a Rorschach test that looks like Ditto's parents fighting. Now, again, we're about halfway through the game. When we left off, we were doing some pretty difficult puzzles I was struggling with, but like they were also like bonus puzzles, so they were supposed to be a little bit harder. But it has also been perhaps many months, maybe many months, and it's, wow, just really gonna struggle here. So, typically you kind of want to find the most, like the biggest numbers, or like the row with the most things filled in to begin with. So we're working with 10. This feels like this might be filled in. 1, 2, 2, and 1, because each one of these individual groups needs to have a space between it, right? So I'm just gonna like hypothetically start here, and if I just fill these in sequentially, no, it doesn't quite work. But what we can do, these groups might be too small for this to work, but like there's sort of like the hypothetical overlap technique where you like try and count out what it would look like if it's started like squished all the way to one side and then squished all the way to the other, and anything that like overlaps is like common to both and can be filled in right away. So here we'll use the temporary fill-in space. So like that's the highest that could be, and then the lowest would be like this space, this space, this space. I'm not, to be honest with you, totally sure that that's correct, but I'm going with it for now. It says, I remember you were told to question everyone first every time. I think you might be misremembering. I believe that you're supposed to do the opposite of that. Because in this game, I think if you talk to the characters, it is possible to miss optional, like, scan puzzles. And then if you do that, then you won't get, like, the maximum rank for the case. And then if you do that, you won't get all the optional bonus things. And if that happens, then you can't do the extra cutscenes. Which, like, isn't all that important, but my recollection is that the correct way to play this game if you want to get the whole story is to always do as much puzzling first as possible, and then progress the story, which will always require you to talk to characters anyway. Wow, this is kind of a rough puzzle to go back on, because there's, like, no big things anywhere. I don't think 2 and 4 is enough to get any real overlap. I'm gonna try that because I got a couple rows that look like that. 2, 3, 4. And then, yeah, I guess technically you get like 1 space that way. Because then it would be like 4 space and then the 2 would go somewhere else. So that should work. This looks plausible. 2, 3, 4. Yeah, so that's the one that gets filled in because that's the same. This is like this row has the same dimensions as this column, so same logic should apply. I don't know how useful this is, but if we look at this column, like this square I've just filled in hypothetically has to be part of the lowest group because there's no way that I could fit a group of 2 and a space between it. So this bottom space can't be used at all because, like, there's no way for the 2 to reach all the way down there. Hey, Alcadius, welcome to the stream. How's it going? Also, Neko, it's been weeks and you're still the VIP. Enjoy your fanfare. I'm pretty sure this didn't exist the last time we played this game, so that's new. If you're watching this on YouTube, I hope you enjoy that. I mean, it feels very much like the group of 3 could be over here. And if that's true, this would also be filled. But I have, like, no actual basis for thinking that. Although if that was true, that would also mean that the group of 4 is, like, exactly there. It would be really good to know if this space is filled in, actually. Or, honestly, any of these bottom 3 spaces, because it would all mean the same thing. Alright, some of the logic is coming back to me, but we're gonna be here a while. We're making dinner. That's exciting. Wait, it's pretty late for dinner there, isn't it? Aren't you like 2 hours ahead of me, Alcadius? 2, 1, 1, 1, 1. This game does involve a lot of me muttering numbers nonsensically under my breath. So, like, you know, this might be a good background watching game. I don't know. Tell me your thoughts on this game. I did sort of bring this back without really... A lot of times I'll be like, hey, chat, how do you feel about X, Y, or Z? Sometimes I'll try something if it's really important to me, or if I'm just going to be stubborn and, like, we're definitely going to play the non-Ori games as an example. But, like, a lot of times I'll be like, how about this? But I think people were into this game when I was playing, and it really only went on hiatus for matters of other priorities, not because we didn't want to finish this. But I hope people like this game. I would like to finish it. He says stalling for time because he's looking at stuff and it just has nothing. This probably by itself isn't enough to figure out where all these groups of 1 go. Let's check something here. I think it's true that this space should be filled. Is there any way possible that this could be the first group of 1? It would require space and then 2, and then space and then 2, and then space and then 1. So no, that isn't possible, which means that the group of 1 has to be further to the left, and there's only one configuration in which that's possible. So that should also tell us that this is part of that group of 2, and this is not filled in. And then if we consider what's left, we have like space, space, blank 1. So the last one could be in either one of these spaces, but I think what that means is that this space is always filled, because either these two are a group of two, and then space, and then one goes in one of them, or these two are the group of two, and then space, and the one goes there. Now, does that help me at all? Maybe, because we've already got something going on in this row. So there shouldn't be any way possible for this to be the first one, because then we'd need to do like space 1, 2, 3. Yeah, not even a little bit close. So this has to be part of the group of 3. Now, the furthest down this could go is, 1, 2, 3. And then it could be a space, and then this could be the group of 2. So that's possible. The furthest up this could go is to here, because there would have to be a space and then the 1. But if we consider that, like, there has to be at least that much space. 2, 3. Yeah, I think this has to be filled in. Because either, like... Right. Can't undo that while you're in, like, purple mode. So it's either the case that, like, the one is in one of these two spaces, and then this is blank, and then this is the group of 3, etc. Or, like, this is the blank space, and the group of 3 reaches up to here. I think both of those should be viable. Check something in this row. So, is it possible for this to be the last one? It would require us to have a blank space here, then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then another space, and then another one filled in. So no, just barely that's not possible. So what that tells us is that... let's see, 1 space, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's not possible either. It's weird. No, I guess it's not that weird. It's 2 groups of 1. 1 space, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 space, 2, 3, 4. I think that all has to be true. Yeah, because this still leaves room that this could be the last part of the group of 4, and then a space, and then a 1. And, like, there's no way for this to be the furthest over version of it, which would be 1 space, 1, 2, 3, 4. But even so, I think, like, this has to be a point of overlap. Maybe both of these, but this one definitely. I think this is correct. I think. So what that tells me, let's check this column here. Could this be the group of 2? 1, 2, space 1, space 1. It could, so I can't rule out anything. I was thinking I might be able to, like, at least put filled in space here to be overlap between 2 different possible locations for a group of 2 out of 3 spaces. Yeah, I haven't learned anything new there. Or there. What about this? 1 space, 2, 1, 2. I feel like I should be close to something here, but I don't think I actually have anything useful in this row yet. 1 space, 1, 2, 3, space 1. Wow, actually all of this could fit from this point below, which means I also can't do anything useful there yet. Do 2 blank spaces in this column somehow indicate where the 1s need to go? 1, 1. No, there's like way too much space still for that to be true. I'd be able to do something with the bottom row due to that X. I don't think... Hang on. 1 space, 1 space. Oh, actually, you are right. Should have checked that earlier. So if we try to consider what the bottom row would look like because of this X that I'm, like, pretty sure is correct. If we consider, is it possible that that X could, that, like, all of the filled in spaces could be to the left of it? We'd start from the very left and go 1, space, 1, need another space, and then I'd have to fill in 3 in a row? Oh no, I actually can't, because the 2 1s can go anywhere in here, and the 3 can still go here. I need to either confirm or rule out one of these 3 spaces before I can do anything particularly useful. All this tells me is that the 2 1s have to be over here, which is, like, kind of definitely true, unfortunately. I mean, I know it's been a while since I played. This is tougher than I might have expected the first puzzle back. Miss Toasty, how's it going? Welcome to the stream. You're just in time for I'm not very far in this puzzle, and I'm not doing a very good job. How are you doing? I hope you had a nice Thanksgiving. Actually, I assume you live in the US, but I don't know that I have reason to do that. I hope you had a nice time since the last stream. No, you are right. Yeah, because I can't fit all of them to the left of the X, then the 3 has to go there. You're right. I'm, like, overthinking that, because I don't want to make an assumption there, but there is no other way for that to work. Now, I have no idea where the 2 1s go, but that's fine. It does, like I said before, filling any one of these does give us, like, kind of a lot of information, so it's, like, a good call out there, Neko. Because we know that this column has only groups of 3, and that if one of those points is the bottom, it has to count up exactly 3. This space would then be blank because it has to be separated from another group. And then we know that the furthest right group in this row has to be 4, so it goes all the way over to this space I was pretty sure was full. So that should give us something. We also know that this space should be left blank because the furthest right group in this row is 1. And for this column, we should also be able to deduce that the next group up has to count its full amount up from this starting space, since that reaches all the way to the bottom. So that 2 goes there. This has to be blank because the furthest right group in this row is 3, so it can't go in that one space. This also needs to be blank. Does that tell us anything about this group of 3? No, not yet. And then like this, because this is filled in, the furthest right group is 1 for this row. And I don't quite have enough to figure out any of the spaces for that too. Well, actually, this should be blank because this group of 1 should be separated, which means we should have overlap here, and then that means that this should be our group of 3. Because 1, 2, 3. No, wait, is that true? 1, 2, 3, space 1. I guess that's not technically true just yet. It's pretty likely, but not certain. Oh, these bottom 2 are groups of 1, so the space between them should be blanked out. I think I need, like, maybe, like, any space below this to be filled in to figure out if this is the group of 2 or not. That's probably not literally correct. I don't think I could do this row yet. Is this anything? I could hypothetically have a group of 2, and then these would be part of the same group of 4. Where this could reach to the bottom, and this be part of the group of 2, so I don't have anything there yet. Somewhere in here goes a group of 2, I have no idea where. So I think this has to be part of the group of 3 now. Because, like, there has to be, like, a group of 1 on either side of it. So I can't, like, 1 and then fit a group of 3 before it would have to overlap this in some way. And I wouldn't be able to, like, this couldn't be the top one. There's just, like, not enough spaces left. So if that's the case, furthest up it could go is 1 space, 1, 2, 3. And if we count up the other way, 1, and then, like, the 3 couldn't start until here. So it'd be like 2, 3. So I think this should be some legitimate overlap, which means we can rule out the spaces on either side of it, which probably tells us something about something. So hang on. Now that that's filled in this way, space 1, 2, space 1, 2. So this can't be the top one anymore, which I think was slightly ambiguous before. And if that's the case, I think it has to be... Well, it has to be a group of 2. So it pretty much has to work like this. And then how exactly the other group of 2 and the 1 goes, I'm not sure. So this has to be part of first group of 3 for the top row, but I don't think I have anything that rules that out. Oh, but speaking of groups of 3, this has narrowed down enough that this space should be filled in, because I still need a group of 3, and any way that looks, this one would be filled in by that. So that rules out that space. Since I'm only looking for groups of 1 in this column, that doesn't tell me too much. Let's try something. Is it possible that this is the furthest left group of 1? Because if not, I think it pretty much definitely has to be the group of 2 for this row. So if we try considering it as 1, then it'd be 1 space 1, 2 space 1 space 1. So that is technically still possible. Can't do anything with that yet. Seems pretty likely that this space is filled in. Whether it's these 2 being part of the top group of 2 for this column, or if they're the bottom group of 4 continuously. Either way, it seems pretty likely that space is filled in. This 1 space 1, 2, 3 space. I think given how few spaces are left, we can conclude that, like, these have to be overlapped for the group of 3 that has to fit here somewhere. 1 space 1 space. It's either to here or it's 1 space over, and those are like the only 2 spaces it can fit. So we should have these 2 points of overlap. That does make this our group of 3 for that column, and then this would be the group of 3 for this column, which would also make this the group of 2 at the bottom of that column. And it would fill in that this is the group of 2 there. This also tells us that this is group of 2. And that leaves only 1 place for that 1 to be. And now this is no longer a space that our group of 3 can reach. It's weird how I both feel like I definitely remember some of the things I had been training by playing this game, and, like, definitely also looking at this puzzle feel like an idiot, like a really dumb idiot. I mean, in fairness, I definitely don't think this is, like, an easy one with all these small groups. Like, normally, even some of the, like, the medium difficulty ones we had been doing in the last case, like, you'd get at least, like, 1 row that was completely filled in or completely blank or something, and, like, it's, like, a pretty reasonable starting point, and then you'd end up with some, like, medium-sized groups and stuff. This is, like, almost all small groups, which is a lot tougher. Do I know anything about the position of the group of 3 with this X here now? Could be like 1, 2, 3, space, etc. Or like 1, space, 1, 2, 3. I think I know that that space is filled in, which, if true, would complete this column. At least you don't have to worry about getting wet down there. Hey, it's a real concern that affects, like, at least ones of Japanese teenagers dislocated in time and or space on a Titanic. So, do I have any other useful information based on that? I think it should tell me something about this row, right? So, like, I don't think it would be possible. 1, 1, 1, 2. Like, that can't be anything. I feel like this like is definitely part of the group of 2. Space 1, 2. Space. Yeah, I think this one's a bit of a leap. I'm gonna mark it differently, even though black is like the finished color. I'm gonna mark this differently because this is kind of a big leap. But I think it is true, based on what's left here, that this is filled in, which means that this can't be, which means that this has to be, which means that this can't be, and then this has to be. Like, that just seems like that is true. That would make this the group of 3 and mean that this is definitely the group of 1. So this wouldn't be viable anymore. If that's true, I think that also means that this is our group of 2 for this column. Because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, so like, in theory, that would have to be separated. And then we have like additional overlap. I mean, this is done. Don't know about that. Y is true, solve for X. The only X I'm solving is putting a whole bunch of X's on this board. And struggling with general logic, which mostly involves the same concept. This should be filled in because I need to have a group of 1 left of this group of 4. I must have an additional point of overlap now that I've blocked something off here. Hold on. 1, space, 1, 2, 3. We're like... Yeah, this should be filled in for whatever that's worth to anybody, and then that would mean that column is done. It would also mean that this is definitely filled in, which means that this can't be filled in, which means that this is filled in. Also needs to be separated because this column only has groups of 1, and there's only one viable space left for there to be another filled in space, so I guess this is true. Which would also mean that neither of these are filled in, and that this has to be. Maybe. Maybe this is right. So far, looking at the pattern I'm putting together, it doesn't look like much of anything. But if past history has taught me anything, it's that that might just be true, because this game deals with pixel art on such a scale that doesn't necessarily make any sense. Now, if we look at this column where I've now filled in, like, the top space, top group is 2, so this should be filled in, which finishes that group of 3 there. Also means that this isn't filled in, and then this would have to be, which means that this isn't, which means that this has to be. And then this isn't. And then this has to be. Is this right? 1, 1, 2, 1. It's looking good so far, despite my best efforts. 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. 2, 1, 1, 1. Yeah, that looks good. 4 and 2 and the group of 3. So, like, this should be filled in. And then 1 and 2 and 2 and 1. We're either like really close or like I'm about to be really frustrated and start all the way over. 1, 3, 1 means this is nothing, and then 2, 1, 1. I think that's right. That all looks right. Now this game has in the past occasionally demonstrated a glitch where even if you fill the whole thing incorrectly, it just like doesn't properly read the answer, and you have to like toggle some of the spaces. So let's reserve our indictment of this inevitable failure until it's actually clear that something is wrong. Just kidding. I can't tell you to do that. I encourage it, but like, let's be real. Hey, it's correct. It's Among Us? It's Among Us? Whatever this image is, it definitely looks a little suspicious to me. I found sneaker left. It is interesting. Giraffe. It is interesting that somehow shoe would be a clue in the big shoe parade. Those parents being sus. That's definitely what it is, for sure. But yeah, like it's gonna be that like ridiculous like anime trope where just like the whole case is about shoes, even though that's incredibly unlikely. Points. Not sure that no assist bonus counts with Neko like walking me through that bottom row that I really should have gotten with minimal difficulty. It's fine. We're warming up. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Maybe it's fine. A sneaker. Whoever was driving this float must have left it behind when they fled the scene. Is that really the only conclusion we could draw? Because like I feel like that's probably not correct.
It would appear to be designed for a left foot. Hypothesis: the killer has only one leg. Like a pirate?
What did I just click on?
I
mean, you might be right, or it might just be 1.5 of a pair.
The plot thickens.
We must scan again because we want all the puzzles. Oh, hang on. I don't know why the chief of police is just letting us do this, because he doesn't want us to be a detective. Ah, okay, well this is different. It's bigger. It's bigger, that's for sure. Oh dear. Well, here's the rest of the stream in one go, maybe. Okay. So I'm going to start with this 12. 12 is a big number. This is 15 across, which means that we should be able to overlap all but 3 on either side. If I remember how this math works, I believe that to be true. So, like, that's a good start. We have this group of 2 and 12, which is, like, more awkward, but we should be able to get something out of that. So it's either, like, 1, 2, space... I'm just gonna fill this in. I feel like there's a cleverer way to deduce how this works, but I'm just gonna fill this in. So now there's only... Oh, wait, would that be everything? 1, 2... Oh, yeah. No, that, like, accounts for the whole row. Because 2 plus 1 to 3 plus 12 is 15. That's the whole row. Finished. Okay. That's not quite true of the similar-ish row right below it, where only 14 spaces would be filled. Nico says, I've made another conclusion. Whoever lost their sneaker has a different shoe size to the other shoe. Now, when you say that, is the other shoe that you're referring to the whole parade float? Like, just the whole big shoe car? Because if so, yeah, I think those are different. Just at a glance, I feel like those are different sizes. But it's probably best not to jump to conclusions. You're like 3, and then space. And then, like... Hold on. So, like, all the way to the right would be... Start with these 10. All the way to the left would be... 2, 3, space, and then, like, starting from here. So, yeah, I think it's, like, we don't know that this X is here, but I'm pretty sure we know that all of these are overlap. Plus, the big red shoe is at least a size 8. Is that a men's size 8 or a women's size 8? I'll be honest, I'm not very good with shoe sizes. Particularly women's, but, like, definitely just generally speaking. Okay, so with 10 out of 15, you could get 5 overlap, because it could either be, like, this space 10 all the way to the left, or this one 10 all the way to the right. And anytime that you get something at, like, a far edge, it's particularly useful, because then you can use information from, like, the other direction to get a head start on what you're doing. So, for example, if we look at this column, we know that the bottom space is filled in, so it's part of the bottom group, which means we should count up 2, and then have a space, and then, since this is already filled in, we should be able to do the same thing to count up 4 spaces for the next group up. From there, it gets more complicated, but let's fill in these ones that we know are going to make sense. Is it just... No, it's not. These are 2s, and then these are 1s. These don't extend up any higher, which means I can't do these groups in theory, although they are likely to be filled in the same fashion. But we can make both of these groups of 3 this way. That should be fine. Yes, true, men's shoes are bigger, so that is probably close to like a men's 8. Now, I wear something like a 10.5. It varies a little bit by make of shoe. So I guess, transitive property of shoes, I'm roughly the size of a skyscraper. Is that correct? I suppose that you, the viewer, don't necessarily have, like, a great frame of scale. Like, I could just have really enormous furniture, so, like, it's like hard to say. 7. I think this is a point of... I think 8 is just enough that we know the middle space is filled in, no matter which way we go on this. It'd be 1, 2, 3, 5... Yeah, that should be correct. That means we can also say with confidence that this is blank space, and 1 space 1 space 1. So yeah, I think we know this whole column already, which is actually pretty weird. But, like, that all seems right. Looks good to me. Can't argue with that logic. You can't. There's just no way to know. I mean, only my mother in chat knows for sure, but, like, that's just because she gave birth to me and has seen me recently. But you don't know that she's not also, roughly the size of a building. Like, we could just be, like, that episode of the Aladdin cartoon where someone tricks Genie into putting on, like, magical dancing shoes that cause him to dance all through the night and destroy this town so that he can extort, like, the mayor or mayor equivalent of the town into buying or to paying for his, like, magical reconstruction services. So, like, he is responsible for magically destroying the town, and then he gets them to pay him to fix it. It's a pretty good racket, to be honest. I don't know why that's, like, the main episode of the Aladdin cartoon from the 90s that I remember, but I definitely do. Angel Fire says, I've watched you play. I don't know how many episodes of this, and I still have no idea how you know what you're doing. So giving me an anxiety migraine even attempting it. I mean, there's a couple people in chat who started, like, playing along, and I think that they could probably attest to this too, Angel, which is that, like, it definitely, like, I feel like it's a tough game to stream. I'm trying to externalize as much of my thought process as I can. There's certain things that as you get used to them, you kind of just, like, you look at it and you're like, I know that's right, and I'm still trying to, like, explain those, but, like, I don't know. If you play through this game from the beginning, it does a really good job, I think, of, like, scaling you from, like, just really, really basic ones where, like, you get the concept to stuff like this where, like, I have to try and think of new ways to, like, consider the puzzle. Like, this game is a really good difficulty curve, which is pretty hard to do for puzzle games, I think. What story is this? I've never heard it. I mean, it's from the Aladdin cartoon. I couldn't tell you what name the episode has, but if you look it up, I'm sure you'll find it. Neko says, it's also much harder to solve problems mentally, rather than if you could use the boxes, Vasco has to visualize different configurations. Yeah, that's true. You mean the fact that, like, even though I don't necessarily know what I'm doing, I could at least be like, well, I think these ones are filled in, and then, like, check stuff. Like, that definitely helps. Trying to do it all mentally is, like, definitely, like, no bueno. So I think I actually know... Since this space is filled in, there's no way that, like, all 10 of these squares for this row that need to be filled in are to the left here. So this should be the first group, so we can count that backwards. 1, 2, 3... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5... Oh, it's just all of them. That's fine. It's fine for that to be all of them. Now that probably does some stuff for us. Hang on a second. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, to Neko's point, even just being able to, like, do that, to, like, count the spaces with the highlighting box helps for sure. So that's as high as the one group of 9 can go from our bottom most filled in thing. Yeah, I can reach all the way to the bottom, so I don't think I could do anything meaningful there. So for this row, I only have one big group of 7. So these middle 3 spaces have to be part of that. So 4, 5, 6, 7. Can't actually reach all the way there. Like the furthest left could be is 1 space, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I think this has to be filled in, which I'm pretty sure that's true. Yeah, or it could be 1 space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's not a contradiction, it's just weird. This and that, and then... Oh, this row is actually interesting. If we look at this row, because we've, like, separated the group of 4 and 7 with these 3 X's, we know the group of 4 has to be over here, and so it overlaps most of the 5 available spaces. And then something similar should happen here. How many is this? This is 2, 3, 4. It's 5. It's 7. It's 7. So all of those need to be filled in, which is a little interesting. This also, I think, has to be filled in. If we look at this column on the right, the bottom group is 6. It could reach all the way to the bottom, but, like, there's no way for, like, this to be part of the bottom group and this not to be part of the bottom group. So this should be filled in, which means that that's the full group of 10 for this row. And we know that these 2 are filled in, and then the last one for that group of 3 goes somewhere. This feels like this probably reaches to the bottom, and... Actually, I think if we look at these 3 columns right here, I think this space has to be blank on all of them. Because the bottom group is supposed to be 1. And, like, this is already part of, like, a group of 3, this whole big block here. So the only way for the bottom group to be 1 is if these are specifically blank and these are specifically filled in. Which means... Hold on. 1, 2, 3... So that's 8. So this one also can't be filled in. And looking at this column, this now has to be the bottom group of 2. And this should have been the bottom group of 3 all along, I think? Well, yeah, because I can't separate, like, it's already at, like, max capacity for bottom groups, so there's no, like, this space can't be filled in. So that's true, and then since this one's filled in, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This puzzle in some ways looks more intimidating than the last one because of its size, But this feels like a lot easier to me, personally. I don't know if you necessarily agree. Now, if we look at this row, this can't be filled in because the furthest left group is 5. And we already have, like, these 3 filled in, so, like, this has to be something, and then these 2 have to also be filled in. That's fun. Bottom group here is 2, which means this is blank, and this is blank, which means this is filled in. This has to be filled in, yeah. And then I could still go either of those directions, but it's probably this corner. Can I confirm that? No, I don't think so. I don't think I could do that yet. If we look at this column where we just filled in those 2 and all the spaces adjacent to it, got a filled in space here, so that has to be the next group up, which is 4. 2, 3, 4, and then that has to, nope. But then there's only one more group, and it has to be 3, so it could be 1, 2, 3. None of these are viable anymore. And of these, this has to be filled in both instances. And since there's no groups of 1, this also needs to be filled in. Pretty sure that's true. I have a harder time explaining why that's true, but I feel confident that's true. Speaking of continuous stuff, we do 1 space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. Feels like this should be part of the group of 7, but I think it's still possible that this could be the far left group for this row. And then that would be a blank space. At this point, there's only one group here. Like, that definitely has to be filled in. Which doesn't actually change anything, but it does... oh, no, it does tell us this has to be part of the group of 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6... yeah, that's filled in. It could be here, 1, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Or, because we already had this space filled in, it's like 6 and then 7. I should actually be able to do some overlap here. I don't know how important that is, but it's probably helpful. It could reach down all the way to here, but it definitely has to reach up 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's nothing, which means that this is the far left group of 4 for that row. This is nothing because I can't fit the only other group of 3 in that space at all. This left group, because these are touching the left side. This should be 3, this should be 3, this should be 3, this should be 4, which is fine. Because this has to be part of the next group over, and it can only reach one space this way. Whether it reaches that far or starts here, the space should be filled in. So how many spaces do we have here? So this is each the space between every set of red lines is 5, which is a good shortcut if you can remember to do it, even though sometimes I will double check the counting there. So like all the way to the top, this is 10, and 9 of those are filled in. So like that should be true, which then means 3, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. This top one can't be filled because I need a group of 2 at the top and it wouldn't fit there. Now we're getting to a tough part. I feel like we're gonna need to figure out some big thing. Oh, hang on. Group of 5. This counts all the way to the bottom. So that's there. 1 space, 1 space. Yeah, I can't do anything else there for the moment. Probably can't rule out anything here. Honestly, this could be like the far right group of 2 for this. That's just nonsense. There, nothing there. Too much space to call that 3. Huh. Yeah, tough spot now. Because of the way this is set up, this space should be filled in. That does mean that this is blank up here. It means that this should be blank, and then this should be filled in. That's 3, 4, so that's blank. Which I already could have ruled out if I was paying more attention. The group of 3 blocked off when I did that, so I should have had that information. So what does that tell us? We now have a group of 8 that has to fit in 11 spaces. Means all but 3 should overlap on either side. Right. I think that's wrong. I think it should be more than that. No. No? Just hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then the same thing should apply the other way. Maybe more overlap. And again, I should have... Well, no. That group of 2 gets finished off because I know that's there. This is probably filled in. Probably. Almost definitely. Probably. Top group here is 2. 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 And yeah, I only just filled that in, so none of that is stuff I should have already figured out. Yeah, this is where it's gonna start getting tough. Like, over on this portion of the board, it's a lot of smaller groups. Speaking of smaller groups, this is a bigger one. It's 4, and it's already finished. And that's a separate group of 1. Don't know where the last one goes, but that's a little something. 2 and 3. Yeah, I gotta fit 2 1s in here. Those could be basically anywhere. What about this, though? These are actually relatively large groups for the amount of space left. For starters, this should be closed off. Could also be closed off, and this should. Technically, I can't do this yet. But if we go to this one, so like 2 space 1 2. No, not quite there yet either. It's gonna be tricky. This last bit's gonna be tricky. Yeah, that's not any particular thing. Hold on a second, though. So we're missing a top group of 3, which can really only extend down to here. So all of these have to be blank. Probably not enough to do anything, because we're still dealing with, like, small filled-in groups in large blank areas. Yeah, I don't think so. Oh, this one has to be filled in. That's a little something. 2, 3... This space is, like, really probably filled in. Like, really probably. Wouldn't be super useful to do that, though. No, that's super helpful either. Is this something? Do I have something here? I think I got most of this. 2 space 1 2. Yeah, that's helpful and should be correct, because that also tells me that this is our group of 2 here, and it tells me that this is a group of 1. So this has to be filled in, and 1 goes somewhere, probably here. Oh no, it goes here because this is supposed to be a group of 2. So this has to be your second group, meaning it's 3, so it extends that far. I can't quite sort that, but that should be fine. I need a 2 and a 1, so I think this space has to be filled in, because the 2 can only either go here we're extending to here in order for there to still be room for one. If that's true, that closes that way. This column is done. 2, 1, 1, 4, 1. Okay. Yeah, and that tracks with this. Okay. If we look at this row, that should be closed there. Doesn't really tell us anything about the column. You know what? I think I actually know what this image is. Is anyone familiar with like Monster Rancher, like the anime in particular? I think. Actually, no. I think it's a general name, not a proper name. Like one of the like signature monsters from Monster Rancher is just like a big yellow thing with one eye called Suezo. Kind of looks like close up on Suezo. Which I feel like someone, at least once in their life, had to be paid to write into a script, and like that's just a weird thing to think about. Close up on Suezo. Very tricky spot we're in now. Three and 4. That, I guess we know that this isn't filled. Which means that this has to be top group of 2. Oh, and this like also should have been filled a while ago, which makes that top group of 2. Isn't as helpful as I want that to be. It should tell us though, like just enough filled in spaces that this should be a group of 2 for this row, and then the 1 goes somewhere. Also tells us that's a finished group. I think we know that this is filled in, but I think this one's filled in. So below this spot, I need to have at least a space and then 2 filled in. So it could be like space 1, 2. Or like space, space 1, 2. Either way, like this one's filled in. Which doesn't do a lot for me, but is true. Oh, now this has to be blank, right? Because now this is a group of 2. And that's like our top and basically our biggest uncommitted group. So that means this has to be filled in. This is blank. This is filled in. This is blank. This is filled in. This is blank. Yeah, I'm pretty sure this is close up on Suezo. Since that's blank. And then I need 1 somewhere in here. Group of 3 goes somewhere around here, and that finishes this column, as far as I can tell. Oh, now this is in such a state that this has to be filled in. Okay. It kind of go either way. What's finished? None of them. Okay, that makes sense. I don't like it, but it makes sense. We're pretty close now. So why am I making it look hard? 2. Okay, so I still need a 2 here, so this has to be filled in. There's only groups of 1 left there, so that should work like that. And then 1 of these would be filled in. Realistically, that could still be any of those. This is surprisingly difficult at this point. I feel like it should be obvious now that I'm this close, but it's not really. I'm certainly missing something that should make this seem more obvious. Now, hang on, what do I still need for this row? I need 3 individual ones? That's pretty wild. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that being the case, those have to go in those spots because they need to be separated. Let me just make sure that's right. 2, 1, 1, 1, 3, 1. Yeah, okay, that should be right. Which should... It tells me that this is filled in, so that none of this is, and then this is, so this isn't, so this is, so this isn't, so that is. It appears not to be Suezo. Instead, it's wheel. It's, I mean, I see, like, I get it. I see how it is supposed to be like a wheel with, like, sort of a hubcap and like a tire and all that. It's like from a car. Like, you can literally see it, like, directly below Scout on the left there. Like, it's supposed to look like that. When you turn it into a nonogram puzzle, it still kind of looks a little like Suezo. But it's, you know, the color's wrong. And the eye sort of looks like it's being mosaicked out, like some sort of 90s interview that a person is giving under duress or whatever. I guess wheel can be clue. Why not?
Otter, there's something interesting about this tire. The tread appears to be undamaged, which indicates that the vehicle didn't brake before it hit the curb.
Or the victim. Now that you mention it, there aren't any skid marks, are there? So they didn't try to slow down or swerve? I don't think this was an accident. And now we'll just, like, do another puzzle. That's just how you do it. Ooh, this music's fun. Boo. Start on this one, huh? Got some 5s, but the puzzle's big enough that, like, 5 by itself doesn't tell me anything. And then a lot of smaller groups than that. 412 looks promising. Hold on, that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That should give us pretty considerable overlap. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, space, 1, space, 1, 2, or like 1, 2, space, 1, space, 1, 2, 3, 4. So like those I think are all definitely in place regardless. I'm glad dinner turned out well, Arcadius. I don't trust myself to cook, so I try not to. That's how you end up with gingerbread cookies and raw egg omelets. Although I stand by my raw chicken and egg sauce. Like, that's just the perfect pairing. What is it the perfect pairing for? That I'm legally not allowed to answer after a criminal case. But it is the perfect pairing. 114? Maybe 114? 3-1? I think 1-3-1's still nothing. Got an air fryer today for your grandma. That's nice. Is that like an early holiday gift or just a good grandson gift, Arcadius? I'll tell you what, we are like 2 days into December now. Hashtag dating this episode, December 2nd. And like, boy, do I already feel stressed about gifts. It's interesting. I feel like it's one of those weird internet things. I've been reading a lot of stories lately of people being like, I found the holidays so stressful that my family and I all agreed like not to get gifts for each other. And I'm like, there's certainly a way to do it. I feel like I've kind of de facto done that with most of my close friends over time. Although I think all of us are sort of known to just like randomly get just cause presents for each other. And I feel like that sort of balances out. That's a good system. But that like does not work for everyone. There's all sorts of complications to that. But like, you know, for example, that obviously doesn't work with my niece and nephew, but at the same time, my brother will never tell me what I can get them. And it makes me want to challenge him to a duel. Of course I would win because I play card games like quasi-professionally and he's a human being, so like it's not fair, but I still want to do it. 1, 2, 1, 1. kind of a lot. Hold on. 1 space 1 2 space 1. I counted from the other side first. Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say they got their shopping done early this year. Either like you all have like people who like you can actually shop for, or you are like unbelievably prepared. Because like my God, like everyone in my family is like impossible to shop for. Except, and I don't say this as some sort of like humble brag. I think except for me, and I say that only because I feel like I've known a lot of people to generally say that like I am easy to shop for because I kind of just like stupid stuff. And so like people just be like, I got this small soft toy that looks like nonsense and it seemed like something you'd like. And I'm like, I sure do. Let me put it on the couch next stream. And it'd be nice to be able to like put just like a little bit of anything in either of these rows with a group of 5. One space. One. Ugh, I don't like the placement of this square. To just collect things you think people will like and send them as gifts for special occasions. Don't expect things in return. I think that's generally a good way to do it. It helps like not to have any expectations. I don't know. I definitely. It's tough because I do enjoy getting stuff for other people like more than I like getting stuff. Generally speaking, just like broadly speaking, I like stuff. I have too much stuff, but I still like stuff. But like it's just tough because like, well, like here's the thing. And like I risk going into like the dark psyche of Vasco by like even broaching the subject, but like I am by far the least successful member of my immediate family by like far. Let me just emphasize for you how much of a disappointment I am as a human being compared to just everyone I'm closely related to genetically. Just, oh boy. Okay, now that we've established that, it's like pretty tough to like get a thing for my sister that she's like not capable of getting for herself or hasn't already gotten for herself or whatever. And you know, she's like pretty good about like putting out a list, but like it's just not the same. Like to me it's rough because like I want to try and do like a thoughtful gift, but it's like impossible. Like she and I like approach life very differently. And so like it's hard for me to like go outside the box and like think of something that like would be exciting to her that again like she can't like buy a million times over or something. It's tough. I find it tough. And like I know like everyone, well most people, everyone in chat's like humble bragging. And they're like everyone seems to be on top of their stuff. But I think generally like a lot of people struggle with like holiday season and gift buying, and I also hear like just a lot of people talk about how that anxiety sort of ruins the positive mentality that the holiday season is supposed to bring. Like I totally get that, but like I do feel like it's tough, man. It's tough when you're the least successful of all family. What's the acronym for that? LSOAF. It's tough when you're Lasoph, man. God, I'm sure just staring at numbers again. That's the best part of streaming this game. This is why no one asked for this to come back. Gotta be some sort of thing I can... Okay, hold on. Okay, there's gotta be something to do with these. Alright, so, hold on. 1 space 1 2 3 4. Because the furthest left this can go touches this. I think that confirms that this has to be part of the group of 4. No, that's dumb logic. 1 space 2 3. Hold on. 1 space 1 2 3 4. 1 space 1 2 3 4. this overlap exists. It's relevant. Yeah, demolition, yeah. Like, I want to get stuff out of compassion, not flexing. It's probably not quite how I'd put it, but I definitely agree. And, like, I just mean, like, I feel like, from my personal experience, I feel like there's some slightly different way I would put that. But I think that is entirely correct. There's how many ones? There's enough ones that I don't think a single confirmed space is at all useful. 3, 1, 2. It's just so many small numbers. The small number math is gonna kill me. 1, 2. So like this has to be part of a group of 2, but I don't think that tells me like anything useful at all. Like it literally doesn't help me rule out any squares. If this was positioned slightly differently, I could at least rule out like 1 or 2 squares from this side. Nico says, I know the feeling. Usually the poorest and not everyone feels comfortable getting things from me. Yeah, like for sure. It's also, like when I was younger, you know, I said before, like somewhat in jest, that like I like stuff. My brother has literally said since he was like 20 or something that he hates stuff. And also, when he was younger than that, he disliked the concept of gifts so much that I distinctly remember a Christmas where when I was a kid, I got him something that I thought he would really like. I don't remember what it was, but I remember just being really excited for him to open it. And he refused because he didn't want to get me a gift. And it was like so much worse that he didn't open the thing that I got for him than that he didn't get me something. Like that made me so upset. And like that's definitely not the same thing that applies now, but like I think it's all circling the drain on this same idea. God, I'm never gonna finish this, huh? I just keep looking at numbers and then talking about gifts. Just what? There's gotta be something. Where something is. Are these like 1, 2, 1 ones? Is that? Hold on. I'm not gonna mess around with this one with the square already in place. 1 space 1 space 1 2 space 1, or like 1 space 1 2 space 1 space 1. I don't think that's legitimate overlap. There's like circumstantial overlap, but like I don't think that counts. Does that count? I mean, to be clear, I think eventually my brother did open that present, but like it really rained on that parade of that particular Christmas experience. I like the way you put that, Neko. That sounds very much like something a character would say in an anime, which I hope doesn't come across in a derogatory way in any respect. But like, just the way you phrase that sounds like a thing an anime character would say. Feels heartless in a way to reject someone's gift without seeing it when they put a lot of thought into it. It just feels like I feel like there's some anime where it's like, I put my feelings into this. Please open it. Please accept my feelings. It's like a very like Japanese thing. At least from my experience watching anime, which like really isn't a good indicator of like culture, and yet I pretend. Slightly melodramatic mood. I mean, you are hearing me talk and watching me not solve puzzles, so I hope you understand that I am also feeling quite melodramatic. Okay, I guess one thing I do know is that this has to be a group of 1, so the things on either side are blank. Which really doesn't help that much. That really tells me still almost nothing. Space. Yes, that's really still not... And it, like, I'm close. Like, a little more information in here would probably tell me a lot. Forget the gift you received in a dream. Or, like, forget the dream... Or forget the gift that was rejected in a dream. Oh, man. I told one of my coworkers about my extremely weird dream last night. And normally I feel like when you tell someone a dream, it's like, I feel like typically when you try to tell someone a dream, it's like trying to recall in real time, like the exact wording and timing and like punchline of a joke that was like really funny to you, but you like definitely don't remember. And so it's like really hard to correctly convey it. And usually the other person's like, okay. But like they seem to appreciate the dream I had, which was for some reason I was like traveling with a group of people who I think were like a band or something, and I don't know anyone in a band. And for some reason that band took me to the concert of another real life band, which I know multiple people who are fans of, which is One Direction. And I'll be honest that I really don't listen to one, like I'm not, what are they called? One Directioners? I know this because I know lots of them, but I don't share this emotion. And so it was like weird that I had this whole dream where like basically a band had smuggled me into some like weird like giant concert venue to see a reunion tour for a band that broke up many years ago, One Direction. And then like a group of fans who had appointed themselves like the One Direction police were hunting me down because I was not like a real fan and I shouldn't be there. And so most of the dream was me like going through like vents and ending up in insane weird places. And eventually I was like eavesdropping on someone in therapy inside the concert venue. It was just a mess. I have no idea. Like I just woke up so confused from that. I was just so like, normally even when I have a weird dream, I'm like, I get it. I understand that this symbolizes like some stress I was dealing with in the last like day or two. And I get the connection. I just woke up and I'm like, why any of that? That was so confusing. This sounds really fun. It was like a little stressful, but I've had much worse dreams than that. I've been sleeping better lately since it got cold. I have such a hard time sleeping when it's warm, and it's like always warm in California. I don't know why I live here. Hey, does anyone know how to solve this puzzle? Because I think I've demonstrated pretty definitively that I don't. I barely know how to start this puzzle. I certainly don't know how to finish it. I wish I could at least figure out... You know what? I'm just gonna... This isn't a sound, logical way to handle a puzzle like this. I'm just gonna take a really hard line here and just make a determination on how I think this particular row works. Because if I can determine that one way or the other is wrong, and I think there's only 2 iterations of this, then I should probably get enough information to go. So, I think, yeah, this should be like, these have to alternate, right? Because there's 5 filled in spaces and 5 blank spaces out of 10. So, if this was true, this would be a group of 1. Can't really rule out anything there. This would be... Couldn't be part of the group of 4, and it can't be part of the group of 2, so it would have to be its own thing. And then this would be filled. If that's true... God, that still tells me, like, almost nothing. One space... Space 2... Space a bunch of stuff. Yeah, that's, like, nothing. This is nothing. This could also be blank. Does that tell me anything? No. Probably no. This would also be... Is that enough? Hang on. Is that enough? It would mean that, like... This would be overlap. Because 2 of the 3 spaces here would have to be filled in. And then it would mean that like this has to be blank. So like 1 space 3 or so like this would have to be filled in, which would mean that this has to be blank. Yeah, we're just gonna run with this until I hit the dead end that this is the wrong configuration. And then at that point, we'll start probably the whole puzzle over. If I put in these X's, does that tell me anything useful? Almost tells me something here. Ooh, hang on. We might be onto something. In this configuration, I think this would become impossible. Because it'd be like 1 space 1. Yeah, there's literally no way to fit a group of 4 in this whole row if this is correct. Which means that this is wrong. Now, can I effectively backtrack enough of this that it's relevant? That should be correct still. Alright, I'm on black because that's just the way it is. It really does, like, I think I understand why it's the case that you can't remove X's while you're using the purple squares, but, like, boy, does that suck. Like, boy, is that really just annoying. I don't think I know anything about this square. These... At least part of this is wrong. That's all incorrect. This... I think all the rest of that's right. I think I backpedaled this, and I now have this much information. And this is frankly probably enough to do this. This is probably what I needed, but like this is... I don't recommend trying to take that solution. It's not clever or efficient or good or smart. So this has to be part of a group of 5, which means that it can reach no higher than 2, 3, 4, 5. So those are blank. That tells me nothing. It's useless information. Could go all the way to the bottom, so that doesn't help. There's nothing here because this is a blank space. 3? 1, 3? Yeah, I got nothing there. This is probably part of the group of 4. The telltale group of 4. So, like, we're on purple, right? No, we weren't. Okay. 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, or like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., etc. So that's probably true, and entirely useless to me. Telltale group of 4 will remember this. Hey, so like Telltale like exists again. I found this out like a couple of months ago, and I've like really been struggling to like reconcile this knowledge. Because it feels like it's somehow a lie. But like Telltale exists and is like making games that like are due to start coming out like early next year, I think. Yeah, like it's relatively new. I don't know like when that actually happened, but like they have games that are like announced with like dates for like next year. Yeah, they like kind of exist. I don't know exactly what it means, but like they're making like an Expanse game, which is like wild, but like very on brand for them because they mostly like one of the reasons I really liked Telltale as a company even early on is that they like really only bought licenses to things like extremely cared about, not even just like things that overlap my interest, but like only bought licenses to the things that like mattered most to specifically me as a person, like up until they got to Walking Dead, which ironically is when they got successful. Now, I think there's like a thinly veiled burn in there for Vasco that I only like things that aren't good, but I'll leave that to your discretion to decide. Man, I sure wish I could solve puzzles. It would make streaming this game better. They went out of business because they spent money on licenses. True, absolutely true. The new founders probably spent money on licenses. Here's the thing, though, right? Like, I don't think it's inherently wrong to make a heavy investment on a license if, A, you do a sufficient, like, analysis of the expected return on investment. Like, basically that you don't buy a license that's like more expensive than the profit you can get from making and selling that game. So basically, like, the cheaper the license you can get that's still something popular enough to be successful, the better. And B, that you like actually like make your game like good, and like obviously much easier said than done. But I do personally, and this is just my personal opinion, I do personally feel as though at a certain point in the lifetime of the original Telltale Games company, that they were starting to like phone it in. That like all of their games were like essentially the same game with like minimal differentiation between them. And I think that was like a big part of how they started to fail. I mean, part of it was obviously they spent too much on the licensing. But like, I also feel like people kind of got bored, and I think people got frustrated with the fact that like, after a certain point, it was very clear that the majority of choices you made in Telltale games were like artificial. They didn't actually matter. Like Resonance of Fate. To a certain extent, yeah. Like, I mean, like, if you got like a thing that was cult popular and bought the license and made a good game off that, it would be good. And you know what? That is how Telltale started. Telltale started by buying the license to Sam and Max, which is like a comic book property that is somewhat obscure, but like has a cult following. That was also the basis of a really pretty famous, like, golden era of graphical adventure games game, Sam and Max Hit the Road. And that was a point-and-click adventure game that they did before the, like, Telltale style of game. And, I mean, it was clearly successful enough. They made, like, 3 different, basically, games under, you know, Telltale Sam and Max. And I liked all of them. I mean, they also innovated the episodic game release, which has really fallen by the wayside, which is probably for the best, because it was really like, I mean, it's sort of been replaced by the whole like early access concept, which, like, while I know is not everyone's favorite, I think is probably still a better implementation than the episodic thing ever really was. But that was always just a consideration because they were a small startup company at the time. Wait, I don't think that... I mean, I assume you're looking that up now and have sources, but I swear that I had read that the Expanse game that was coming out was affiliated with Telltale. Because that was, like, the first I had heard about Telltale, was, like, talk of the Expanse game. And I'm like, that's just bananas. You're saying it's Deck 9 who did the like, off-brand Life is Strange spin-offs? In fairness, I never played True Colors, but Before the Storm was, like, kind of hard to say this definitively. I think it was generally a more enjoyable experience than actual Life is Strange. Because, like, the original Life is Strange is frankly bad. It's just bad. Whereas, like, Before the Storm was sort of, like, ill-advised, but, like, had characters and things. I don't know. It's definitely not definitive. God, I'm just never gonna finish this puzzle. Alright, let me try and focus on this puzzle for a minute instead of just ranting about Telltale, which I think a lot about. So I guess there's no... Like, this has to be blank. So there's only groups of 2. There's no way for a group of 2 to, like, fit there. Didn't it have rap battles? It basically had rap battles, yeah. And, like, they weren't very good, but, like... I mean, Life is Strange had the really good idea of, like, the time rewinding mechanic, and then just, like, was really bad. And, like, didn't... It, like... It's, like, really obvious just thinking about the concept of a game done in that style, where you have the ability to rewind time, and how, like, inherently incredibly powerful that is. And, like, instead of trying to, like, design the game around that, they just kind of made it so, like, the power was useless all the time for, like, arbitrary reasons. That there were, like, only ever 2 things that you could do, despite having unlimited mastery over time, and, like, the hypothetical potential to just trial and error your way to some unbelievably, like, specific solution that would perfectly solve the problem. Which is, like, the thing that makes that idea, like, seem interesting to me. Space 2. Yeah, I can't rule that out. 3. Bleh, 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 bleh. Bleh, 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 bleh. I even have like one too many spaces to even like put a single overlap for the group of 2 up here. I have to try and like rule out another row because like I got nothing. I'm just too stupid for this puzzle. I'm just too stupid for this one. Okay, hold on. I think I've already tried looking at this and it just like didn't make any sense. It's like, yeah, I mean like it could be that or it could be like 1 space 1. I think it would have to be... Wait, this has to be a group of 1, right? I think I can at least say that. Because, like, 1, 2... Yeah, because of its position, there's no way... Yeah, so if that's true... If that seems correct... Does that tell me anything? 1, 3, not there. 1, 2, 1. No, not really. No, not really. 1, and all these like X's that aren't useful because there's like so many groups of 1. God, this is gonna be so much better to watch at like double speed on YouTube VOD. What a disaster this is. I'm much too stupid for this puzzle. If I weren't too stupid for this puzzle, I would have made more than this amount of progress in, I think, a full half hour. Like, that's not very good. There's just, like, the numbers are all just so small. Small numbers are very hard in this game. It's like golf in that the small numbers are very hard. Know for sure that this is part of the group of 2? No, I've checked this like 5 times. A group of 2 could definitely exist here. Is there some way I could rule that out, for God's sake? No, right? Like, I'm pretty sure no. Yeah, absolutely not. Hang on. With a space this small, can I at least do, like, 1 additional overlap for the 2? Because it can only be, like, 1... 2... I mean... like the furthest left can be this and the furthest right would be those, so like that's something, but that really still doesn't tell me anything. It's the only thing that it can apply to is like the fact that it's part of the group of 4, which like duh it is. Like just looking at it, that's not definitely true, but like yeah, like that's true. Would be good if I could rule in or out like this particular space. I think that would help me do something for this column. Is that worth trying to brute force it? Because I sure don't have anything. So let's assume that this space is filled in. Then the ones on either side would have to be blank because there's only groups of 1 here. Then, like, this would have to be filled in, and one of these 2 would have to be filled in. That seems plausible. If this isn't filled in, if this is X, then I don't think I have enough information to determine anything. Because I could be like 1... This could be another one. These could both be filled and like one of the ones above isn't. I don't actually think I can make any useful determination based on either assumption. This, like, probably isn't the hardest puzzle that I've tried to do in this game, but it feels like it right now. Two. I think I see what you're saying. Like, we can't determine the bottom, but because 4 and 1 have to be above that X, that should be filled in that way. Yeah, that's true. No, that's not. Hold on. That's true. That would then be true. It's not helpful. Space. I think that means this has to be part of the group of 3. Like 1 space. Like 1, 2, 3, or like 1 space 1, 2, 3. I think that's true. That's probably true. I still don't have this. Still don't. Is this anything? No, that's still nothing. Oh, I think the 3 on the right have to be filled in here, right? 1 space 1, and that couldn't fit there. That should be true, which means that would have to be filled in. These wouldn't be viable. Which means I think we determined that has to be part of the group of 2, one way or the other. So then this would have to be filled in, and then these wouldn't. This row has only groups of 1. And is this definitely part of the group of 3? 1 space 2, 3. No. There's still a chance that that's not true. Still have enough to rule this out. Like, this column's gonna be nothing until the end, likely. 1, 2, yeah, that very well could go multiple ways. I think I have enough to... Like, I need another, like, probably couple spaces, and then I could probably figure out what's going on in this column. This feels like this is likely filled in. Oh god, I hate how small these numbers are. Oh wait, this has to be filled in now, right? Is that relevant? That means that this is group of 2 for sure now. I don't think in and of itself tells me anything. And the fact that I have to fit a group of 1 over here is also unhelpful. No, what? No way I can fill either one of these. No, like there really isn't. I feel like I know how this row works, but I can't prove it without just like trying some random garbage. I don't quite know where the group of 1 for this goes. I really don't have enough information to put anything here. Oh, this is something, right? There's only 3 spaces, and I can't... Wait, can I? 1, 2, space 1... No. Okay, I can't do that. So group of 2 has to be down here. And that being true means that that has to be the group of 2, and then that's filled in, and then none of that's filled in. And... this being the case, that That means this has to be filled in, which means it has to be part of the group of 2. Which means that's the group of 2 there. Which means the furthest left group here is 2, so it has to be there. And that's not filled in, which makes that the group of 3, which closes that. And then this definitely has to be filled in, which means that's not. And one of these is filled in and one isn't. And then something around here gets filled in. Huh. Done. So this is group of 4 that we now know exactly where that fits in. And if the furthest left group is 1, then none of these can be filled in. Yeah, that's right. And one of these is filled and one isn't. What do we have going on here? Second group is 1, so that's not filled in. And that tells us 1, 2, 3. No. One of these 3 spaces in this column is not filled in, but the others are. So I need a group of 1. Yeah, this definitely has to be 1, and then that's 2. And then that makes that whole thing a group of 5. The top row's done. That should also let us confirm top group of 1, top group of 1, 2, 1, 1, 1. Don't know if I have that yet. Only groups of 2 here, so they work like that. Real close to filling in that 1. We probably still don't have that one. This should be group of 2, right? And then everything else would be filled. Or rather, not filled. Okay. And then... that's done, right? 1, 2, 1. Ah, that means that's filled in. Which tells you surprisingly little. Hold on. 1, 2, 3. This should also be filled in. Which means that has to be separated, and that's the group of 4. Still don't think I have that. I think that might be the last thing we find. This is 2. 1, 1, 2, 1. Okay. 1, 3... 1. So the rest of those are blank. That's filled in. Right? So now I need 1 more, right? 1 more should be filled in? Okay. We eventually got there. Demolition had to find the pretty obvious thing I should have found that the group of 4 had to reach to the top there. It's not super obvious, but I've played enough of these that I should have got that, and that would have saved a lot of time. Oh. What do you think we're looking at? Fingerprint? Looks a little fingerprinty. We have seen some fingerprints in this game. It's interesting that, like, Scout... Nope, that's a compass? What am I looking at? Broken dial. That's kind of like a compass. Scout can, like, really undiscerningly just know that something is valuable as a clue. It doesn't matter what, like, size or shape it has. But, like, he can't just tell you have to solve the puzzle. It's not an efficient way to make a robot. No, it's fine. I'm happy to just, like, always do the puzzles first. It's not a big deal. I have no issue with that. In fact, if you load game, you have to force quit to go back to the main menu without selecting a case. Yeah, we've had some user experience issues with this game for sure. I forget what precisely some of them were, but, like, there's definitely stuff where, like, there's screens you should be able to save on. Like, you have no menu control whatsoever during, like, any live dialogue, which is just, like, bananas. Like, that makes no sense to me. The glass cover on this speedometer has been smashed. Something must have hit it when the float crashed into the clube. Or someone, perhaps the driver? It's certainly possible. Oh, we still have more puzzles. I thought that might be the last puzzle. Only puzzle stream? That sounds a whole lot more appealing when I'm not bad at them. Is this one actually corpse related? Because, like, the game does not typically correspond the thing that you scan to start the puzzle with what the puzzle looks like at all, even a little bit. Oh no, this looks like it's gonna be bad. This is full, right? 1, 2. This music is like extremely Phoenix Wright. Like this game like clearly borrows a lot thematically from Phoenix Wright, and it's not shy about it, which I'm totally fine with. But like this particular song, which we've heard before in the game, like feels very like early cases in Phoenix Wright, and maybe particularly like the first Ace Attorney game. Dead man is sharing your current pose. I mean, it's just going by some context clues, I feel like you're wearing it better, Neko, and I'm glad for that. I want to point out that this game has the worst best plot in a game. You'll know what I mean later on. Well, I guess I take that to mean that we haven't found that thing yet. There's been some weird stuff. I like the last case. The first case was like a little generic, but not bad. The second case was like specific and weird in a way that I thought was fun. Let's see. The cross is 15. That's a lot harder to fill. Lots and lots of small numbers. Really wasn't a good idea to take like 6 months off or whatever. I'm gonna work on this for a while. I got like really stuck on the last one, and that was legit. That was totally on me, and I appreciate chat help. I think it's the most chat help I've needed for any individual stream of this game, and probably per puzzle also extremely high. It's like Neko and Demolition both giving really important. I mean, I feel like ultimately I solved most of the puzzle, but like if you miss that like one important thing, you sure do get stuck in these. Particularly like the harder they get, the more likely that is. 3 space a billion. This is actually narrowed down quite a bit. So like that can't be it. It could go that far, and it could go that far, but it's not any of these. Do I have any others like that? This probably works similarly in that. Oh no, that it could go all the way to the end. But like there's no. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No, I think the way I'm supposed to do this is count the overlap. So like 1 space, 1, 2, 6. Particularly helpful. I know I'm supposed to be able to do something about this. Maybe not. Maybe the width of this is actually so big I'm not realistically able to narrow that down any yet. Mostly because the other group is so small. Like if there wasn't another group, I could at least rule out like the far left stuff. Thanks for streaming. Thanks for watching, Demolition. Especially because the stream is awful. I'm so sorry. It's just not good. I just like I thought this would be tough, but I didn't think I would just be like doing nothing. But yeah, to your earlier question, Neko, like I mean the people who made Life is Strange have like continuously been working on games. Both the main company Don't Nod and the spin-off company, which is whatever Castle Art cited earlier. Something. Deck 9. There's like... I think there's one that was done by Don't Nod, which despite myself looked interesting, but in fairness, interesting and also probably still bad. And I don't remember the name of it. It came out a while ago now, but I had it on my like short list of stuff to do for a minute. And then just like a bunch of other stuff came up. Want a relaxing game, XO1. tiny indie game that can be beaten about 3 hours if you're going for everything, but there's an achievement to speedrun it in less than an hour. I don't feel like speedrunning a game in less than an hour is like a recipe for a relaxing game. Now, it's not like mutually exclusive, but like when you describe it as a relaxing game and then say that, I'm just like, I'm not sure how to interpret that, Demolition. Remember you? Of course I remember you, Castlearg. I just don't remember any other specific piece of information at the same time that I remember you, because my brain is much like the oatmeal that I had to replace my daily cereal with all week, which is mush and a little bit too dry. But that's kind of how I like it. I don't really understand how people eat oatmeal the way you're supposed to eat oatmeal. And I think this is partially just because of how, like, I'm just familiar with oatmeal being made. But, like, the few times I've tried to get oatmeal at a restaurant, it's like still, it's like basically just liquid. And I'm like, that's not what I want. That's not correct. Well, I use like instant oatmeal that's like usually made with water. Or at least I usually make it with water. Like the recipe's either water or milk, but I usually make it with water. I got nothing there. I know that the 5 has to be left of this X, right? Yeah, I know that for sure. So then 1 space 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3. So that's all should count. Those all should count. Don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this one either. These numbers are much too small for me to do anything of particular interest. Water and oatmeal for 30 seconds. That's it for my money. 30 seconds is like way not enough time. Like you call that nuking. You should see what I do to oatmeal. This week, because I had a bunch of oatmeal in like a stretch, I like finally like adjusted the numbers I've been doing for a few months. So it's down to like a total of like 4 minutes 30 seconds. And even that's still a little on the mushy side for me. I kind of want like just, and if I think about it, knowing my approach to food, it's not actually all that surprising that what I want is like a dry oat paste. Yeah, that's kind of how I think of it too, Neckos. Like if you make, well, for me it's less about making it with water as it is if the consistency is like too moist. It like basically if it's wet enough to be like almost soup-like, then I consider it gruel, and I'm not a fan of that. Yeah, but see, like, yeah, I know, like, it is very fun to point out how insane I am with my dry oat paste. But like, here's the thing: I don't like food. Okay, I've said it before, and I'll say it until I die. I don't like food. I like junk food, and I like garbage, and I don't like food. So what I want, my platonic ideal, is like textured nutrient bar, which is essentially what dry oatmeal is. All you do is like shape that into a brick and then like maybe get like a packet of some kind of flavoring to put on top. That's what, like, I want that. I want all my meals to be that. I don't want to think about food. I just want to be able to do that and then have like a cheesecake every now and then. That's what I want from life. I want my dry oat paste. I want my nutrient brick. That's what I want. Why are all the numbers so small? So, like, it's just so small, I can't, like, do anything with them. I can't rule this out despite... Hang on. Can I do something here? Go purple. This one. 1, 2, space, like... 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alternatively, like 1 space, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I think all of those count as overlap, which if true means like that's a group of 2 because there's nothing bigger than that. And then this is blank. which isn't helpful. Basically, I want flapjacks. I mean, like, for sure. Yeah, I mean, like, basically flat. Like, even... I mean, I don't know. I've known flapjacks to be used relatively interchangeably with pancakes, and you're describing something slightly different, but still within the bounds of nutrient brick. That's fine. You were on the Soylent diet for a while, Demolition. I really strongly thought about, like, trying to get into that, but, like, it just, like... There was, like, I was just suspicious of it, and not because it's called Soylent, which was an interesting choice because of the whole Soylent Green movie and its secret ingredient that they spoil in the trailer for it, because marketing back then for movies was just absolutely wild. But it like literally seemed like too good to be true, and I just like assumed that it would come out that it like would give me cancer because it was like exactly the thing I wanted, and I was just too suspicious to try it. But also I'd kind of heard like mediocre things even from some people I knew who like got into it for a while. Is this something? This could be 1, 2, space, 1, 2. I guess it's not possible for both of the groups of 2 to be to the right of this, which means that this is part of a group of 2? Which is fine. It just means I can't do anything with that information, which sucks. You do workout protein bars with cookie brownie flavors. I've been on and off stuff like that in the past, and I'm like really trying to like avoid those things. They feel like a trap. Like I know a lot of them are like formulated by people who like work out themselves and like should be fine, but like I feel like for me personally, it's like a slippery slope of like, yeah, like, you know, cookie flavored nutrient bar, and then just like, yeah, I'll just have like 4 of those because they're like cookies, and then it's like clearly not good. Remember, they're just these numbers are so darn small. Let me try something. So if this has to be part of a group of 2, there's no way to fit like the 3 right next to it. So that means that the 1 and the 3 should be over here. So like hypothetically, we're like 1, yeah. So like these should both be filled in. And so in this column, there's no group larger than 2. So that has to be closed off in that fashion. Can't rule that out. Ooh, hey, hang on. I should, now that I've X'd out some space here, I should be able to do something with this 6, right? Yeah, those should all be overlapping. The one is, who knows? The one is somewhere else. It could be, yeah, that should all be fine. 5 and 2's over there. That's interesting. Are these X's placed in such a way that, like, one of these groups has to be each one of these sets of blanks? Like, there's not enough for, like, a 2 and a 3 here. Or here. Or here. Yeah. Okay, that's weird. So that means that the group of 3 has to be in this middle one, which means, like, 2 of those have to be filled in. Which, interestingly... No. This one has 2 groups of 2. It still means that we know that there's a whole group of 2 there. Because it's counting from an X and... Yeah. Yeah, that's right. For a second, I thought this column had a group... Like, 2 groups of 2. And so it would be X's all the way down to the bottom, and that would be a little helpful. Yeah, like, that's sort of the thing, Neko. I've done that, too. It says, my dad and his wife started having them instead of normal breakfasts and snacks, and they put on a lot of weight, misjudging how healthy they were. Yeah, like, I've done that before. Like, I'm not trying to criticize someone who's, like, able to responsibly do that. I can't. Like, I've demonstrated to myself that I can't do that. I've also just, because I've been trying to lose weight over the past several months, I've also just been trying to snack, like, as little as possible, which hasn't been going great this week, just because, like, I threw off my diet, like, so bad by just, like, not the whole milk ordeal, which is like the least exciting memoir title of all time. But like, man, it sure janked up my week really hard. So that's the choose 3, and the 2 goes in there somewhere, and these could be separate groups. If they were together, it would be meaningful. But I don't think I could prove that. I don't think I know anything about this row. I don't know anything there. Oh, there's only groups of 1 here. And I think we actually know... I think I was calling this the overload overlap. So the top group in this row is 3. We already know that this space is filled in. So we know then by extension that because it has to be part of the top group, that this space also has to be filled in. Either it counts down or to the top, but either way, like, that has to be included. Which still doesn't tell me exactly what's going on there. 2, 3... I mean, this... Okay, so this has to be part of the group of 3 because it's the top and you couldn't fit another group of 3 over it. It can't reach all the way down to here because that would make it like a whole separate group. Which means that the only viable spaces are these top 4, which means that this should also definitely be part of that group of 3, which then necessarily means... No, not necessarily. There's still enough spaces that this group of 6 could go all the way to the edge, and this would just be separate. But I also don't know that specifically to be true. It does seem likely that the group of 2 at the top of this row reaches to there, but I don't know that. Two. If this was a group of 2, I could put something here. Not enough to really sort that out. Don't think I could do anything there. It's plausible. I don't think I could rule that out. Also plausible. What more information about this row? Like I says, you know, it'd be a really easy to complete meal though. Christmas dinner, several courses in one, and all you need is an opener and a fork. I mean, that falls into a weird gray area of it's like technically not food, but it also doesn't qualify as the not food that I like. So it definitely sounds like a punishment. Like, I understand how Christmas dinner, which is like all of the courses of Christmas dinner compressed into a single rocket can. I understand how that is supposed to be a convenient and or exciting thing, but like it definitely sounds like the cross-section of like Oliver Twist and some sort of dystopian future prison systems food. God, I'm so bad at this game. Sounds as exciting as an MRE. Yes, which are kind of notorious for like how not good they are, despite the weird popularity of the subculture for just like trying MREs, especially like expired ones. It's they're like military ration meals. I forget exactly what the letters stand for. Something meals ready to eat. Yeah, meals ready to eat. These numbers, they're so small. I feel like that's also some sort of dystopian future Dickensian thing. All these small numbers. That somehow reminds me, they've announced that they're working on season 3. They're in production for season 3 of I Think You Should Leave on Netflix, which is very exciting. There's a weird episode where they do this like absolutely bananas take on like a Christmas Carol where like the ghost of Christmas future comes back to try and recruit Scrooge to fight this future war. And like Scrooge is just some like old man from Victorian times, and this guy comes back in like a alien style exosuit and he keeps being like, "Oh no, the Prince of Bones is now melting people with magma," and it's just like one of the wildest things I've ever seen. That one always makes me laugh, even though it's not smart at all. It's like an incredibly stupid sketch, but it's really funny to me. He's meals ready to eject. I mean, again, it sure sounds like a punishment to me. Oh no, you had some when you went camping? Yeah, I like the concept. Like, the concept is fine to me. But, like, not only is it, like, the reality of what I've seen is bad, but it's also just, like, if you think about what they're actually going to produce, like, it's just not good. Like, they're, like, meant to be a last resort, more or less. Like, they're not supposed to be food. Oh my god, these numbers are so small. At least we have what passes for banter. Are you having a good time? Please vote only by using emotes without context. Hey, also, would Chad be interested in... I forget if I've talked about this. I have like an emote-only mode button on my Stream Deck that I've had here for ages. Is that a thing that people would find fun as like a channel point redemption, is to like force activate that for a while? I really want like a palette cleanser in this case. I want like something that's like basically like a fully colored in object. I'm not saying that like I shouldn't be dealing with hard puzzles at this point in this game. But what I'm saying is, I'm much too stupid for this. And, like, I really want one that I just do really quickly, and I'm like, I'm the best. Yikes forever, indeed. One space. Oh, hang on. This might be some. Hang on a second. It's like these two are filled in. It's like hypothetically, I need 3 groups of 1. And space. Well, I mean that's only true if that's true. That's only true if that's true. Which I guess is like a 50-50 the way that top row looks. I'm just gonna brute force this. I should take a screenshot of this so I can backtrack it, because like I'm just not gonna. So let's assume for a second that this goes the other way, and I can't do the thing that looks like it mostly fills out the whole row, right? So like if that were true, like this would be closed off, and that's like not super relevant, so I just leave it this way for now. It still wouldn't. Oh. Hold on a second. This space has to be empty. Well, hang on. I can't rule that out, but this has to be the group of 2, which is fine because that makes the group of 6. But then it also, does it mean that? Yes, because this space over here can't have the far right group as 3. So that would have to be filled in. Going back to purple. So that means that closes that group off, and that closes this group off for this column. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. And this column has only groups of 2. So that can't be anything. I think we determined that this has to be part of the group of 3. Yeah, I think that's technically true. So if that is true, that would also mean that's where that goes. which would mean those can't be filled in. And those can't be filled in. One like this is also kind of tough because just like none of the things are touching the left side for the most part. So like I can't like get like a freebie on any of those groups or whatever. Neko, where did you see this? Something horrid I saw that I still can't get over is squirty ham cheese. Pink colored cheese in a tube. Nope. Nope, that's vetoed from me. That's a no from me. That's a yikes forever for me. Sounds as bad as purple ketchup. Man, I never got purple ketchup. Or like green ketchup. Like, I think I tried like green ketchup once. And like you say, like you can just sort of like it's not that it's like spoiled, even though it kind of seems like it is when you look at it. But it's just wrong. It's just like wrong somehow, and you know it. It's just, I'm pretty sure I tried it once, and only because like they were like, it was like available at Burger King, and I was a kid, and I was there, and I was like, yeah, I'll try it. Doesn't look good, but I'll try it. And I was like, nah, no thanks. I don't understand the purpose of this. So like, there's no way to fit both of the groups needed for this column in this bottom area, which means like the top one has to have the 3 and the bottom one has the 2. There's limited space where the 3 can be. So like that's that. Might be true. We also know... Oh, I think we have this whole row now. That might be useful. That's the leftmost group, so it has to be isolated on either side. And then there's only one place for those to go. Oh, oh no. Oh no. Back to purple. Okay, so we got one there. This also only groups of 1 here. This has to be the group of 2. Because I couldn't fit a group of 2 here and separate it from this 5 that... Like, this clearly has to be part of 5 because it's the biggest thing here. So, like... One is probably here. We know that this is filled in, actually, at this point. Tells us that this has to be blank because it can't be part of the next group. Which tells us that that's where one of the groups of 2 for this column goes, and then this space has to be filled in. This column has only groups of 1, so that has to be separated, which means 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Nothing new there. We're there. Only groups of 1. Next group is 1. So I can't fit 2 groups of 2 here. So one of my missing groups of 2 has to go here. Only groups of 1. This, however, the last group is 2. So whichever direction that goes, that has to be filled in. I think I can rule that out yet. I think I could fill in something here. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, space, whatever. Or like 1 space, 1, 2, 3. That should be overlap. Also, that's like a whole group now. Whatever I just did. And then this is overlap, and it should be a group of 1, judging by the column. Oh, hang on, furthest right group here is 1, so that's its own thing. Which tells us that, because there's only 2 other groups and we have 2 isolated things, that anything that doesn't fit into one of those groups, like this 2, like those are still open, but the others are not. And yeah, that's still fine the way that looks now. For this right group here is 5, so since I can't fit 5 here, none of those are filled in, which means that this is, which means that group of 4 is at the far right, and the 3 is somewhere in this big empty field. But we also know bottom group here is 2, bottom group here is 1. What's the deal here? 1, 2, 3, so I need a 4th. So that makes that row 2, 3, 2. Okay. Oh, actually, if this is filled in, it's only one group, so it should stand out that way. Bottom row is 2, bottom is 1, and 1. Okay. Oh, hang on. Now, this is confirmed to be group of 3. Means this has to be group of 2. Okay, this is our group of 3. Alright. Okay, don't have those yet, don't have this yet. I don't think I have that yet. Okay, got a lot done suddenly. Still working at just like an atrocious pace. Oh no, I know that this is a group of 2. Now the leftmost group here is 3. So that's filled in, which means that column is done. And this needs to be filled in, which also finishes that column. Which should mean that that makes the group of 3 there. That makes the group of 3 there. That's the one we were missing, which means that's filled in to fill both of those. 2, 3. Am I missing 3? Some clever way to do this. The colored ketchup was fun to draw with, terrible to eat. Does anyone else here familiar with... We were already talking about oatmeal. When I was a kid, there was... What was it called? I mean, there used to be much cooler types of oatmeal when I was a kid, just for starters. Because there was a type called Undercover Bears, which was perfect. It was, you know, like an instant oatmeal that came, you know, like dry powder in a packet. And it had in it these sort of like powder-covered gummy bears that were all shaped like detectives, and it was adorable. And when you made it, it basically was like oatmeal that had like fun like gummy bears in it, which is the best. I have gotten the dino eggs is slightly less good, in my opinion. Only slightly. Like, just the difference of like the hard consistency of the sort of like sugary treat dinosaurs versus the gummy bears, like, it's just not the same. But like Undercover Bears, super good. There was also something though, touching on the like fun to draw with the ketchup. I can't remember the name of it, but there was another type of oatmeal that came with like these like this like sweet like a sugary paste thing. So you'd have like a little packet and you'd sort of like tear it away, and then you'd like have like a strawberry almost syrup kind of thing, or like a chocolate, or like I think there was like a third kind. And like you would just like doodle in your oatmeal, and then you'd have like flavor that you added to it, which again, because all I want is nutrient brick, I just want dry oat paste, and then you put like a flavor on top. It was like literally my ideal food. I'm sad that it's gone, because like it's literally all I've ever wanted. Hang on, found it. Okay. So that's the group of 2 I need for this column, which means that's where the 3 goes, which also tells me that's where that group of 5 is. And I only need groups of 1 here, and I still need 1 more, so that's 1, 3, 2, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. 2, 3. Okay. I think if we fill this in, we did. I think. Third flavor was brown sugar. See, my mom knows. She got me the good stuff. Neko says, I'd make you try oat bricks if I could, Vasco. That's really sweet of you, Neko. I know it probably sounds like I'm memeing, but like I swear to God, I just want nutrient break. I just want like a thing that has like a good texture and like a not offensive flavor. Like I struggle so hard with certain, like a lot of food that's healthy for you has like really horrible texture. Like it's like really difficult. And like I thought this was just like a me thing, but like I have started reading accounts of like other people and like social media and stuff struggling with like the same concept. And, like, it's to the point that... Uh-oh. What did I do wrong here? 1, 2... 1, 1, 2... Is it just this? Okay, yeah, it just did the glitch thing. I had it right, I just had to get rid of one of the X's because it was reading it weird. Oh, that's definitely a passport. I have no questions about that. If you look at that, like, obviously the first thing you think of is passport. And then the second thing you think of is dry oat brick, because I've said it, like... 1,000 times in the past 2 hours. Yeah, but like, it's tough for me to like I'm really self-conscious about trying new foods in like a social setting because like sometimes if I try, it's really not meant to like offend people, but like sometimes if I try like new foods, just like the texture will be so unpleasant that it like literally makes me gag, and it's not even like necessarily that I like hate this thing. Like I remember like my Australian boss, whose accent I can't replicate, once took us to this like really fancy hotel for some like I don't know, like quarterly office lunch thing. And my coworker's like, oh my god, their Brussels sprouts are amazing. And I'd literally never had them before. And I was like, I'm an adult, I will try Brussels sprouts. And I tried them, and they were like so... like the texture was so awful. I know a lot of people don't like Brussels sprouts, so it's maybe not a good example. But like just the fact that like I was at this like business lunch, like trying this thing, and I was like, like just trying not to like make gagging noises, just like, And then she's like, yeah, you like it, right? And I'm like, well, no, it's not for me. It's not for me. Anyway, this is definitely a passport. Might be a genetic thing. There honestly could be lots of explanations for it. Like, I think it's a not uncommon feature for, like, autistic people to have a response similar to that. And I'm not saying that I'm autistic, but I'm definitely not saying that I'm not somewhere on the spectrum, for sure. Yeah, those aren't my Funyuns. Those are your Funyuns. That must be the victim's passport. I can tell, because when I look at it, it's clearly a passport and not Ditto's parents fighting. Let's see. His name is Oliver Laurel. I feel like that's a pun, but, like, the closest I can think of is, like, olive branch and laurel. It's not really anything, but it feels like that should be a pun, but I'm probably only thinking that because of the Phoenix Wright connection. Date of birth would make him 26. Passport is a passport is an item for traveling to foreign countries, correct? Perhaps he was going on holiday soon. I forget, is this also a British game? I've played kind of a lot of British games this year. Normally in America, you would say vacation. It's not like a big deal. But when I hear someone call like a general vacation holiday, it usually makes me think that they are European. Or British specifically. People sometimes use them as ID too, but it is a bit strange that he'd be carrying it here to the murderous shoe parade. Neko says, my trick for Brussels sprouts is take them as you would pills. Throw them back with a lot of water and swallow whole. Yeah, here's the thing about that, and I don't think that this is unrelated at all. I have an incredibly difficult time swallowing pills because, like, I just have such an intense, like, natural gag reaction that, like, my body is just like, nope, not taking that pill, not taking the pill. I recognize the pill. I understand the pill. I acknowledge the pill. I see the pill. It's there. I know it's there. I'm not having it. I'm not doing it. So I've had to work around that and get like like child strength medicine in like larger doses and things like that. Like my whole life just makes me seem like an absolute lunatic. And the more I tell you about it, the more you should question the fact that you've been watching me not solve puzzles for 3 hours. Ever thought calling them holidays is strange? Well, I mean, it's all relative, right, Neko? I mean, certainly I would expect it to seem natural because you live in the UK, and I know that to be common there. But like, it's not very common here in the US. At least not from my experience.
Will I need a passport if I go to another country?
I shouldn't think so. Not if I check you into the hold in my suitcase, anyway.
I do not like the sound of that.
We did it! We solved those puzzles. That one doesn't need an air quote. Alright, let's do some talking. Well, I'm gonna dive right in and talk to my Australian Cockney friend. Echo says, well, then my alternate suggestion would be to take Brussels sprouts as you would a suppository. A, got me so good. B, we all know that the 8-letter password is butthole, so there you go. Let's talk to KC. He was first on the scene, right? Babe, isn't it awful? What happened? What happened here? Your guess is as good as mine. I was in the area and decided to swing by. Fran mentioned to me that she'd had the place done up, so I thought I'd take a look at the outside at least. When I got here, this is what I found. Fran? I have a feeling that's a name you've mentioned before. Fantasia. She owns this place. She's also my drag mother of sorts.
I could not find any records in my database for
drag mother. Alright. How to explain? When I first came to the States, I didn't know anyone. Landed at LAX with my makeup palette under one arm and a head full of dreams. Then reality hit, and it hit hard. I met Fran in a club one night, and she took me under her wing. That's when I learned that drag queens will do anything for help with their makeup, even adopt a lost British gay boy.
I see. So she is like a mother figure to you, but not a blood relation.
I thought you had to do drag to be in a drag family. No, I think if your mother is a drag queen, then you're sort of fostered in. Or am I thinking of Judaism? That might be Jewish heritage that I'm thinking of. I know. And it does seem a waste not to use these cheekbones for profit, doesn't it? I don't know. I think doing makeup on other people is my calling. And a drag family is full of people who need makeup on them pretty much every day. So it worked out. But they were my support network. Back when I couldn't get a job to save my life. Fran and her sisters put me up, kept me fed, spread the word. Everything I have is thanks to the kindness of queens. That's fine. Would you be quarter drag if your mother's a drag queen? Hang on. No, it's too late for math. I could barely do those puzzles. That might be right. Since things blew up with Murder Miss Terry and the other regular work, though, I've not seen as much of them as I used to. Or should do. Where is Fran right now? Called her just before I spoke to you. She's not turned up yet, though. Always takes her at least an hour and a half to get ready, though. She's probably mid-beat as we speak. But her club's just been smashed into. Surely she wouldn't spend that long on... Ed likes to draw a line between club life and the rest of his life. Drag only when on the premises. Right. Ed is Fran's boy name. Edwin Tinker. Ed Tinker? Is that something? Is that a clue? Tinker by name, tinker by nature.
He mends metal instruments? He is a man of many talents.
Oh no, I don't actually know this one. Oh no, what have I done? Wait, Neko, what does it mean? Neko, help! Tinker is British slang, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Oh, I didn't read that question at all. Magellan's kind of a weird name for a gay bar, isn't it? Well, it's not strictly a gay bar. How does Fran describe it? Something like, Magellan's a port in the storm for those exploring the stormy seas of gender. That almost came out Australian. Almost. That's the, family-friendly reason behind the name, anyway. Are you a regular? I mean, knowing the owner's gotta be good for some free drinks, right? Fran hasn't owned it for that long. Bar's been here for years, but she only took it over recently. Came here for the big party she threw to celebrate a new venture, but I haven't been back since. That somehow came out a little bit like New Zealand for no reason. Spot on. See, that's a generous lie. I appreciate it, but my Australian accent absolutely could not objectively be described as spot on. Even on a good day, it's at least half Cockney. Like, anytime I start trying to, like, mess with vowel sounds to be more authentic in the accent, I just go like, I can kind of do a variety of British accents, even though I can't, like, geographically place their significance. But, like, the second I start doing that, my brain's like, now it's British, now it's British. A tinker is a rapscallion. I'm not sure if that's literally true, but that's acceptable enough to be family-friendly for this stream. Let's talk to Detective Cross. He loves us. Should have known he'd call you. Nice to see you, too. I told you two to stop sticking your noses in and go home. What are the chances you'd actually do it? I estimate the chances approximately 0.00001%. That does, however, factor a small margin of error. Would that margin of error happen to be 0.00001%? Bingo! I can't even manage to be mad at you two anymore. Fine, I suppose you did a pretty good job last time, and the crime scene team... Ooh, try saying that 5 times fast. And the crime scene team have just finished up anyway. You can help out, but cause any trouble, and so help me God. So, like, what happened here, my guy? Do you have any idea what happened? Looks like a fairly standard hit and run. Well, except they left the vehicle behind, so I guess it was a literal run, and also the vehicle is a giant stiletto. So, on balance, pretty far from your standard hit and run. This seems like the structure I would use to say that as a joke, instead of as like an actual detective's observation. I'd be like, yeah, you know, like a standard hit and run. Except, they had to literally run because they left the vehicle here, and also the vehicle itself is a giant shoe, so, you know, nothing at all like that. This is your first death by stiletto? See, the stiletto can also mean a specific type of knife, so, like, it actually might not be his first death by stiletto, just not in the way you're thinking of. You don't want me to answer that question. Trust me. We know anything about this klube? What kind of contraction is this? Look, I'm an American, and I like contractions probably too much, but look at this. This isn't words. I'd have thought that was more a question for your friend over there. I do not understand. What do you mean by that? He means it's a gay club, and he, being an old straight man, wouldn't know anything about it. Less of the old things, but you're not wrong. This isn't something I know much about. We can help? Wait, you're letting us take a look at the crime scene? Forensics have already been and gone. See, like, this is another, like, European type of phrasing. Been and gone. I feel like you would say it much less efficiently in, like, American English, but, like, you would say it differently. Like, you might say they've already, like, left or something. Like, been and gone feels, like, British to me. I've already inspected the scene. There's nothing for you to mess up. At this early stage in the investigation, it's important to consider everything. Every piece of evidence. Every hypothesis. So sure, knock yourselves out. Come back here and show me everything you find, and we'll see what your conclusions are. What do we know about the victim? He had some ID on him. I'm surprised Robo Boy over there hasn't found it yet. He did! Any suspects? Well, the only person with any connection to the incident so far is that friend of yours. KC? EE? You don't think he did it, did you? I like to keep an open mind at this stage of the investigation. I'd suggest you do the same. But he called it in. He did, and then he called you. Are you trying to imply something, Detective Cross? There'll be time for implications later. Right now it's about finding out as much as we possibly can, no matter how innocuous it may turn out to be. I mean, that is how investigation works. I think the game is prompting me to show him the passport. Yeah, that's the victim, all right. Oliver Laurel. I've radioed his name to the station. They're going to get back once they have more info for me. Do I just show him all the stuff? I guess he did say, find everything and show me what you find. So I guess I just show him all the things I found?
We found this sneaker, Detective Cross. I have a hypothesis. The presence of only a single sneaker could indicate that our perpetrator has only one leg. Beep boop.
I don't think that's very likely.
But you said we must consider every hypothesis.
Did I say every hypothesis? I meant every credible hypothesis. God, I sure hope it is a pirate. I really hope it's a pirate and we make this man look ridiculous. Nowhere on the treads and no marks on the floor. Looks like they didn't try to slow down.
That's what I said.
What do you think that means? The dial on the shoe's dashboard was smashed. Indeed it was. What do you think that means?
Hypothesis. The driver of the shoe collided with the dashboard on impact.
Not bad. One to keep in mind, for sure. Now, do I have a new question for him? Oh, nope. Something is happening. Well, what do you think? I would say the top two are pretty similar here, but I think it's more conclusive, based on the evidence that we have, to say that the vehicle hit the club on purpose. It very well could be murder in the form of them seeing this guy and driving into the building because they wanted to run him over. But what we know for sure is that they were deliberately heading towards the building and didn't stop. So, like, they must have intended for one reason or another to keep driving. And since there's a whole building there, I mean, it feels like, again, like, definitely murder and vehicle hit the club on purpose are kind of similar in the context. And even though I think the game is trying to hint at the fact that I'm assuming the club was physically hit by saying the vehicle hit the club, I don't actually think any of the evidence directly suggests murder. It doesn't not suggest murder, but I don't think we know that for sure right now. The vehicle hit the club on purpose. The lack of wear on the float's tires plus the absence of skid marks points towards that. Indeed they do. What about the victim? Do you think it was deliberate? Ah, see? Scout's got my back on this.
I do not believe we can make a call on that either way.
None of the evidence suggests it was deliberate, but neither does anything prove it was accidental. See? I know what I'm doing when it comes to this type. Like, I can do narrative logic, but I can't do small number logic right now, that's for sure. Good. It's important not to jump to conclusions. We can work on theories, but they have to be grounded in real evidence. Yeah. Yeah. Man, there's something about the way I have my windows configured right now that the mouse cursor is being captured really small, but looks much larger on my screen. Is that a problem? Does anyone care? I don't know. So what Uh-oh. Is Fran... what does Fran sound like? Does Fran sound like what I think Fran sounds like? Mama. You know what? That's more or less accurate, isn't it?
What in the... It's even worse than I imagined.
Fran! Oh, it's terrible. Thanks, Streisand, you weren't in there.
I'm Detective Cross, investigating officer. I appreciate you've only just arrived, but I'd like to ask you a few questions inside, if I may. Miss, You can call me Fran. And sure, let's head inside, shall we?
New location discovered. Bar. Bar in the club. Oh, now we're in the club.
I can't believe it. Just look at the place. Okay, we've got an officer at the victim's address. He's bringing over some items of interest. I'm gonna wait outside. Honor, you find out what you can from Miss, Tasia.
Wow, this is wild. There's a pretty big jump between the last case where, like, he was pretty adamant that we, like, literally go home the whole time despite, like, helping him do his job, to now where he's like, I'm gonna leave you in charge of, like, interrogating the suspect, and I'm gonna go on a smoke break or wait for, like, a backup or whatever. Like, there's just, like, a pretty big jump in confidence and willingness to trust us between those two events.
Honestly, just call me Fran.
Right. Okay.
Honor, perhaps we should take a look around inside, too.
I feel like maybe this is where we should stop. I feel like if I try to do a puzzle now, it's gonna take, like, a whole, like, hour. Because I'm doing really bad at them. I know we got a late start. I don't think I want to go for, like, another most of an hour, though. Do I want that? Save. Oh, I have, like, actual saves. I forgot how this game worked this. Okay, it's been since June. We haven't played this game since June. So it's been almost 6 months. That's a few months. It's very distracting that, yeah, I mean, like, the dates are also inverted from the way America usually writes them, so this was probably European made, which I'm sure I established 6 months ago when I still remembered things. I guess this is the one. Let's save over this one. Save complete. Is it always possible to access Scout's memories from the pause menu? Why does that feel like that's new? I don't think they updated this game. It's like a few years old already. I'm seeing a strong opinion in chat, so I think that might be where we call the stream. I apologize for the stream being a little short in that respect. The first one back, I was thinking I might try to do a little longer, but I think the options are be a little short or be a lot long. And, like, God, I've been doing such a terrible job at these puzzles. I don't trust that to be a good idea at all. Like, that just sounds bad. We'll be back with more of this next week, assuming that anyone is still willing to watch it after having endured this. Unclear whether that's true. We'll also be back tomorrow with some more Lamplight City, which I'm really excited about. Because the more I've played that game, the more I've liked it and been impressed with its, like, unique direction and decision-making. Yeah, I know, I expected the game to be hard coming back, but, like, I just didn't expect to be, like, staring like, I figured what would happen is that, like, you know, I'd get, like, a reasonable start and get stuck for a little longer than I would have in the past, but, like, it just... I mean, I was just staring at the screen, muttering, like, very small numbers to myself and complaining that none of them worked until someone would point out something I, like, definitely should have caught. So, like, it's a little embarrassing. It was moderately worse than I expected, but, like, I do think in another week or two we'll be, like, back up to speed more or less, and I'll have the milk problem will be sorted by then, and then my diet will be regulated normally, and then I can accomplish things like an adult maybe. Look, the milk it's really important. I'm just saying the milk is really important. I'm too tired to focus on the puzzles today. Same, Neko. The problem is that I'm streaming, and so it's a bit of an issue. Also, you still caught something important that I was blatantly ignoring. But this case looks fun. I mean, I think I'm really into the idea of learning more about our friend character Casey, and maybe his past and maybe his friends, and also with Detective Cross being a little bit uncomfortable. That all seems like that's a recipe for fun. But we'll see how it goes. Next week. Tomorrow, Lamplight City. For now, we have one final order of business. And that is to find a secret Squirtle. Somewhere on the couch behind me, which is arranged in a completely different way than I normally do it. I've hidden a secret Squirtle. If you can see a Squirtle like this guy up here, he's not a secret. But if you consider all of the things on the couch behind me, you may be able to locate a secret Squirtle by considering where he might be hidden. And if you do, it is an omen of good luck for you in the week to come. So take a moment if you're not already asleep from me just doing nothing for long periods of time and then complaining that oatmeal isn't dry enough. And see if you can work out where Squirtle might be hiding. In the meantime, I'm going to have some of this juice, which is the correct amount of wet because it's a beverage. Only got the Neko, have you? I forget. I know a bunch of people started playing Nonogram games after I started streaming this, and at least a couple people in chat actually played through this whole game way before I finished it. Did you pick up one of those? Because I'm not sure where else you would need to try and figure out one of my weird methods. Also, in fairness, I've had a couple people in chat sort of nudge me towards certain things, like Mr. Generic Name, who's played this game in the past, told me a little bit about it at a certain point. Never played a Nonogram game. It's impressive that you would even follow what I'm saying. Then I feel good about the fact that I was able to explain that in a way that's meaningful. Because I want to think that I have that skill set. It's part of why I do this. And then I sit here and I'm like, 2 is too small a number for 40 minutes. I see some good guesses. Behind Smiley, behind Ornament Friends. We'll definitely take a close look at Ornament Friends. And then after the stream, I gotta go post my Day 2 Advent stuff. So check that out on the Discord, if you're not already on the Discord. First guess was behind Smiley, which I presume is Big Smiley Face Pillow. Back there is not a Squirtle, but we have a Baby Yoda, and we also have Tiny Naomi. Tiny Naomi is fun. Or does not like to stay up because it's sewed off to one angle. Very cute. Very cute. That's very kind of you to say, Neko. I appreciate that. And then second guess was. Let's take a look at these. So, got. I've showed off Little Lorenzo before, but he's great. I want you to see, he's very good. He's technically a Christmas ornament, which is a little weird, because he's not Christmassy at all, but I did, on some earlier stream, I showed off the set of non-Christmas Squishmallow ornaments, but he has the mitten hands and the little feet. He's extremely good. These two, these are from... I think the gold hair one is from last year's Christmas set, and the silver haired one is from this year's Christmas set. But they're really cute. 2 Christmas angels. I like them a lot. The gold hair one has kind of a whole halo, The other one has only kind of an implied halo, but they both have fun angel wings, and they're cute. I like them. I want to spend some time this holiday season showing off the little ornament friends, because they're fun. And a lot of them are, like, specifically Christmassy. I think I missed a guess there somewhere. Okay. I'd also guessed under Pirate Squirtle. And I don't know if this is gonna work out so good. Because, you know, Naomi, Queen of Narwhals, is pretty structurally integral at this point. But if you take a close look, you might notice that like a Squirtle or two back there, all hiding under our bested Pirate Squirtle. I figured I could hide them all behind Naomi. I honestly thought that was too obvious, but I thought it was fun to just like make a big stack of Squirtles. Yeah, I'm gonna put him back on top, see if it holds, which I don't think it will. Nah. Christmas Squirtle has like a big tail that doesn't like to fold in, so like he just doesn't want to stand there at the top. Found the whole Squirtle squad. You did, Neko. Congratulations. Have one of these. Oh man, it's sleepy in here. Thanks for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I do expect these to be less excruciating. Eventually. It might take a minute to get back up to speed, as we've already demonstrated today. But we did get through, honestly, more puzzles than I expected, but I sure made it look really difficult. More Lamplight City tomorrow. I'm excited for that. I hope you can join me. But regardless, thanks for being here. Thanks for being you, and I hope to see you again soon, whether that's tomorrow or sometime in the future. Stay safe and have a good time. Good night, everybody.